we had, and the mass vaccination which has covered more than 90% of the people, and the various infrastructure development which he has made, and the updated skills and training given to the medical manpower. I think we are nothing to be worried or nothing to be very concerned about this, but it is good always we are being cautious. We are always on the preventive mode and the proactive step of doing the surveillance and doing the sequencing in much better. And this is the right step which is taken by the government, and we appreciate. And we only request all the public and to the government also, do not take it very lightly. Take back to your old system of avoiding mass gathering, having the mask, and see to that all levels whenever it is possible.
Also, Doctor, because of the sudden spurt in cases in Japan, USA, South Korea, Brazil and China, you think the immediate concern is to track genome sequencing, especially of newer variants, and airports become the most critical points where the screening and scanning must be done?
We need to know whether we are having only the old lineage. We are having the first of cases even in India. There are a few centers are having the more cases than our reporting. We want to know whether it is the same lineage here. If then it is our effort has to be in a wider level, at least preventing and checking, enhancing the checking at all the international airports, preventing the transmission to India. So, but without knowing the baseline, without knowing that it has come to India, and create a strict protocol cannot be taken. So the right sense and the right direction at this moment is to enhance the sequencing. And if we are coming across any case of the viral replica B17 or other viruses which are having an impact in Japan and China, then we should be enhancing our protocol or control on spreading this disease in India.
All right, Dr. J. Jayalal, former IMA president, getting us details of how the health ministry is also now ramping up preparations and concerns over a possible fourth wave, as the health ministry is now concentrating on genome sequencing. The government is all set to issue a fresh advisory when it comes to COVID guidelines. That's the latest that is just coming in. We'll of course bring that for you when it is released, but this is the latest we're picking up from our sources in the health ministry. The government is all set to issue fresh set of guidelines on COVID, especially for travelers coming in from these specific countries where there has been a spurt in COVID cases. Madhurima, I want to come back to you on this, because this is what we are picking up from our sources in the health ministry. There will be a fresh set of guidelines, especially for travelers from China and those countries where there has been a spurt in cases. When are we expecting a fresh set of rules?
Well, Swesha, we can expect fresh set of rules in less than 24 hours because the government is on the fifth gear as far as handling the COVID-19 cases is concerned. And looking at the condition in China, remember at the time when there was a footfall of cases from China and affected countries, the government had issued that all the travelers coming from these specific targeted countries will have to produce a COVID certificate which says that they are not infected. So such guidelines, then of course the quarantine guidelines will be imperative and put in place. These are the highly two likely possibilities that will be brought in implementation for the travelers that are coming from the affected countries, and specifically China, because the condition there is the most questionable, and which is why they are also tightening the entire testing and sampling procedure at the airport as well. And just like we heard our guest speaking to us, the demand for booster dose has also been increased by the health ministry. They are asking, because the number of booster doses that have been administered to the citizens of our country is comparatively less. People have not really come out for taking the booster dose. So that has also been asked for people to come, and specifically those who have some sort of comorbidities and those who have not taken it, aged age appropriate as well. Stay tuned to Republic TV. We'll be right back after a very short break to keep you ahead of all the important news.
Mr. Blanc, you're the world's greatest detective, right?
In your words, there has been a murder. The killer wouldn't hesitate to kill again if it covers their tracks.
Wow!
Well, I'm out of here.
Yeah, me too.
Lock the doors. Stay in your rooms. Everyone is in danger.
Are you calling me dangerous?
Well, we'll see.
Magnificent picture, magnificent sound, magnificent experience, Magnifique, high-performance TVs by Aiwa Japan, now in India.
सुनो, फिर से शादी करनी? अब तो मैं रिटायर होने वाला हूँ। उसके बाद तो टाइम ही टाइम होगा एक दूसरे के लिए।
पर रिटायरमेंट के बाद लाइफ इतनी इजी थोड़ी होगी। HDFC लाइफ एन्युटी।
रिटायरमेंट के बाद भी सैलरी मिलेगी।
HDFC लाइफ एन्युटी प्लान्स दे लाइफ लॉन्ग इनकम ताकि रिटायरमेंट के बाद भी लाइफ पहले जैसी ही रहे। HDFC लाइफ, सर उठा के जियो।
Thank you for staying with Republic. We continue to get you details as the government is all set to issue a fresh set of guidelines for travelers coming in from China. After we understand the emergency that has been imposed given the spurt in COVID cases and the lockdown that has been imposed in China, the situation that is worsening, and India being extremely careful as the health ministry is now going to be screening passengers at the Delhi airport. Also, heightened genome sequencing to check for any new variants, as sources suggest that there have been 4 cases of the B7 variant that have been found in the last week itself. A review meet that was held by Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya, as he says that the situation cannot be taken lightly. Random sampling and testing that has already started at international airports from today. I want to go back to my colleague Madhurima, who's tracking all the updates on this. Madhurima, what exactly is happening at international airports across the country?
Well, yes, absolutely, Swesha, because looking at the situation like we were discussing in the countries that are affected, USA, Brazil, Japan, and most affected, that is China. All these countries, people traveling from all these countries will be put under scanner, all the more though foreign travelers from all across, because this is the festival season as well. The Christmas is inching closer, and these foreigner travelers tend to travel more. And remember that the New Year's of China that is celebrated somewhere around January also comes because in the first wave of COVID-19, it was during the Chinese New Year that the Chinese travelers went all across the world, and then the pandemic fell upon the entire planet. So which is why, looking at this festival season, the government being prudent have taken this step where testing and random sampling of all, testing for all and random sampling.
In fact, Madhurima, it's extremely important because the Niti Aayog has also put out 5 set pointers of what the people must follow. Let's listen into what VK Paul of the Niti Aayog had to say.
Ministerial level review will be undertaken. No panic, abundant precaution. अगर हम उस तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं तो abundant precaution के क्या मुद्दे हैं? पहली बात है कि खांसी जुकाम इस मौसम में होता है. हम विंटर में हैं, हम ठंड के मौसम में हैं. तो पहली अपील ये है कि खांसी जुकाम हो रहा है तो आज की सिचुएशन को देखते हुए अपील करना चाहेंगे कि उसमें आप टेस्टिंग करवा लीजिए. हो सकता है और 90% चांस है कि शायद ये नॉन कोविड होगा. लेकिन अगर दुनिया में कोविड का केस बढ़ रहा है, वैसी स्थिति में कल राजस्थान के 3 MP ने मुझे पत्र लिखा था कि राजस्थान में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में हिमाचल के सम्मानीय मुख्यमंत्री जी पर भी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए थे। उसके बाद
Invest once and enjoy guaranteed maturity with life cover with LIC's Dhan Varsha, a single premium plan for your family's security and prosperity.
Hey Rahul, what's up?
Hey, kicked about our first date?
Of course.
Benefits up to rupees 30,000 only at the Citroën C3 Carnival. Book today.
With Beto's Diabetes Care Program, you get online doctor consultations, all your prescribed medicines and dietitian support on call. Get your complete diabetes management kit and expert advice with Beto's Diabetes Care Program. Give a missed call on 740-1100.
क्या हुआ रोहन, क्या सोच रहा है?
रिया, पहली सैलरी मिली है, तुम भी कुछ आइडिया दो, एक्सपेंसेस को कैसे प्लान किया जाए।
रोहन, एक्सपेंसेस के साथ साथ इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान करना भी जरूरी है।
देखो, सैलरी का कुछ हिस्सा घर के रेगुलर खर्चे के लिए और कुछ मैं अपने लिए भी तो सोच सकता हूँ ना, लेकिन इन्वेस्ट कहाँ करूँ?
सिंपल है, एनपीएस में।
एनपीएस में? रिया, अभी तो मैंने कमाना शुरू किया है, इतना आगे के लिए अभी से क्यों पैसे जोड़ूं?
वो देखो, एक एक करके ईंट जोड़ी जाती है, तब जाके एक घर तैयार होता है। वैसे ही अभी से पैसे जोड़कर हम भी अपना रिटायरमेंट सुखी बना सकते हैं।
बात में तो दम है।
एनपीएस कम लागत वाली फ्लेक्सिबल लॉन्ग टर्म योजना है, जिससे आपकी बचत ग्रो होकर पेंशन का लाभ देती है।
अच्छा, फिर तो मैं अभी अपना एनपीएस अकाउंट ओपन करता हूँ।
जो कल की सोचते हैं वो आज से ही थोड़ा थोड़ा जोड़ते हैं।
पेंशन है तो टेंशन नहीं। एनपीएस में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है।
And we continue to keep you updated on all that is coming in from the Health Ministry as India is now bracing for a possible fourth wave as 4 cases of the B7 variant have been found in the past week itself. Genome sequencing has been enhanced and especially international travelers at the airports are now being scanned. India is ramping up the genome sequencing exercise to check for any new variants as the government is watching the situation very, very closely. Time for a short commercial break. Be back on the other side with the latest on this. Stay with us.
(2022) में सुबु ने कंसिस्टेंटली अंडर परफॉर्म किया और 3 बार डिमोट होकर भी दिखाया, पर सुबु तो उड़ रहा है क्योंकि जियो मार्ट के ग्रैंड फिनाले सेल में शॉपिंग पर मिलेगा अप टू 80% ऑफ। तो साल जैसा भी गया हो, एंडिंग तो जबरदस्त होगी।
India welcomes those who further India's pride across the globe. Indian diaspora, partners of New India's growth journey in Amrit Kaal. Come and be a part of the 17th Pravasi Bharati Divas from 8th to 10th January 2023 at Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. For registration, log on to pbdindia.gov.in.
देखें कौन नया खिलाड़ी आया है। समझा देते हैं। प्यार से समझाएंगे, धीरे धीरे से, वो भी अपनी जुबान में। ये तो अपनी जुबान है।
जुबान एक हो तो दिल भी एक होने चाहिए। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
भाई सोच रहा हूँ कमेंट्री ट्राई करूं। सुनोगे? मैच का आखिरी बॉल, कैप्टन ने टाइट फील्ड सेटिंग करी है, बॉलर का रन अप, तेज तूफानी डिलीवरी पर आउटसाइड की ओर, एक धमाकेदार शॉट और ये गया छक्का।
छक्का नहीं, टूटा। आपके टाइल्स को चाहिए MYK लेटिक्रीट टाइल एडेसिव। फॉर्मूला ऐसा कि अब टाइल न टूटेगा न छूटेगा।
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district. The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a Pak drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district. The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
India on COVID alert mode, set to issue fresh guidelines for travellers from China, begins random testing and sampling at the international airports. Amidst a surge in the COVID cases in multiple countries now, the government holds a review meet, ramps up preparations to tackle any situation.
पाकिस्तान में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है।
Union Health Minister hits back at the Congress outraging over COVID norms warning, says my duty as a health minister is to warn.
बीच बीच में महात्मा गांधी जी याद आता है, ये नकली कांग्रेस, नकली गांधी और नकली कांग्रेस को, ये तो अच्छी बात है, दैट्स ए गुड थिंग।
As Sonia Gandhi raises concerns on China incursion, the government hits back. The union minister says Congress should read history first.
कांग्रेस के लोग ही जुडिशरी को अटैक करते हैं और कपिल सिब्बल साहब ने कहा कि इनको सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कोई विश्वास नहीं रह गया है।
The Union Law Minister hits back at Sonia Gandhi's allegations on the judiciary, says no conflict between the government and the judiciary and it's the Congress politicizing the entire issue.
विभाग के सामने एक लक्ष्य रखा है नशा मुक्त भारत का। मैं निश्चित रूप से इस सदन को आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि लक्ष्य की पूरी परिपूर्ति के लिए हमारी ओर से कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी।
And the Union Home Minister reiterates Modi government's zero tolerance for drugs resolve as he briefs the Parliament on the government crackdown on narco-terror. Now let's play out a tweet that has just come in from the Twitter handle of the former minister, Congress leader Jitendra Singh. And this is in response to the tweet that was put out by Amit Malviya earlier. This is the tweet on your screens where Amit Malviya alleged that this is the moment where the former minister actually kneels down. Why? Because he's tying Rahul Gandhi's shoelaces. Now look clearly at the response that has come in from the Congress party, where Jitendra Singh says now, and I quote him now, as in charge of the ruling BJP's National Information Department, he says your tweet is a complete lie and defamatory. He says the fact is that after being pointed out by Rahulji upon my request, he paused briefly so that I could tie my own shoelaces. He goes on to say, delete the tweet and apologize to Rahul Gandhi or face legal action. So that is what the Congress party says on the entire controversy that did erupt earlier after the tweet that had come in from Amit Malviya. And he says it wasn't Rahul Gandhi's shoelaces that I was tying, but I had only kneeled down. Why? Because I was tying my own shoelaces. And he goes on to say that the BJP must apologize for that tweet and delete that tweet, or he said he will be pursuing legal action in the entire case. That response from the Congress party is now up on your screens. So once more, let's recap what has happened on the story. Was the BJP speaking out of turn? The Congress says yes, because there was this tweet that had come in from Amit Malviya earlier, where he had put out a video where purportedly he alleged that the former minister, the man that you see there in that pink turban circle on your screens, is going down on his knees to tie down Rahul Gandhi's shoelaces. But now the former minister has hit back and he says, it wasn't Rahul Gandhi's shoelaces, but I was tying my own shoelaces. From that big story to the other big story, this is about the big statement that has come in from the Union Home Minister Amit Shah in the Parliament. While talking on the NGOs and the FCRA guidelines, he says that some organizations who are trying to change the demography of India and use FCRA for the same will not be tolerated, and they will have to face the law.
FCRA का जिक्र कर रहे थे, इसमें ढेर सारे एनजीओ भी जुड़े हैं, मगर ये एनजीओ ऐसे हैं जो भारत के समाज को स्वस्थ करना चाहते हैं। कुछ एनजीओ ऐसे होते हैं जो भारत के समाज को प्रताड़ित करना चाहते हैं। दोनों के लिए भारत सरकार की नीति एक नहीं हो सकती। एफसीआरए के कानून का जो पालन नहीं करेगा उसके साथ सख्ती की जाएगी, कोई दया का भाव नहीं रखा जाएगा। विदेश से आए हुए धन के स्रोत राज्य की निगरानी में नहीं हो, ऐसा नहीं चलेगा। बहुत चला लिया जब आपकी सरकार थी। ये नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार है, देश को खत्म करने के लिए देश के अंदर एक कानी पाई भी हम नहीं आने दें। आज भी पीएम केयर फंड की तफ्तीश होगी। पीएम केयर फंड माननीय गृह मंत्री जी, मान्यवर, इस मिशन के अंदर चिन्मय मिशन भी जुड़ा है, रामकृष्ण मिशन भी जुड़ा है, आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग भी जुड़े हैं, ब्रह्मा कुमारीज भी जुड़े हैं, निरंकारी मिशन भी जुड़ा है और ढेर सारे आध्यात्मिक, धार्मिक और सामाजिक संगठन भी जुड़े हैं। इन पर कोई तकलीफ नहीं है, उनको एफसीआरए के कानून से कोई दिक्कत भी नहीं है। मगर जो लोग देश के अंदर देश की डेमोग्राफी को बदलना चाहते हैं और इसके लिए एफसीआरए का उपयोग करना चाहते हैं, तो वो कानूनन इसकी इजाजत नहीं दी जा सकती। इस पर सख्त कार्रवाई।
Let's also get in our colleague Piyush Mishra, who's been tracking that story on the phone line right now. Piyush, this is something extremely important that the Home Minister earlier has opined on. Do we have any reactions from absolutely anyone? And is the step being welcomed by the opposition also?
Well, so far, opposition has not spoken out on this big statement made by Home Minister Amit Shah. But yes, that's a big message being sent out by Mr. Amit Shah while he was speaking on the direct minutes inside the country. Remember that there are many states who are affected by this, and today while speaking on narco terror, also Amit Shah highlighted that strict actions will be taken against the organizations who are misusing the foreign funding thing. In fact, he has also highlighted that there are many organizations who have been using this and they have not violated any kind of norms. But at the same time, he has, Amit Shah has said that if anyone violates this, then actions will be taken, because the changing of demography will not be tolerated at any cost. We are still trying to get reactions coming in from the opposition political parties. But yes, that's a big message being sent out from Mr. Amit Shah on the FCR rating.
All right, Piyush, we'll track that story closely for the moment. Thank you. So that is the response that has come in from the Union Home Minister Amit Shah earlier in the Parliament. Remember, you've seen here on Republic number of these stories where there have been instances of forced conversion, and Amit Shah there cracking the whip. He says anyone who's found guilty will be taken to task. To our next story, this is a massive face-off over the Bharat Jodo COVID warning by the Health Minister. After Congress's furor over the letter, now it's the Health Minister who's hit back, saying that it is his duty as a Health Minister to warn.
दुनिया में कोविड का केस बढ़ रहा है। वैसी स्थिति में कल राजस्थान के 3 MP ने मुझे पत्र लिखा था कि राजस्थान में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है। हिमाचल के सम्मानीय मुख्यमंत्री जी पर भी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए थे, उसके बाद उसमें भी कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया और उसको देखते हुए राजस्थान में कोविड ना फैले, इस विषय के लिए आप कुछ कार्यवाही करिए। उसको देखते हुए मैंने मिनिस्ट्री में एक्सपर्ट लोगों की राय ली, बातचीत किया और उसके आधार पर मैंने भारत जोड़ो यात्रा के इंचार्ज कन्वीनर राहुल जी को एक पत्र लिखा और एक गहलोत जी को पत्र लिखा और मैंने कहा कि भाई मुझे ऐसा पत्र मिला है और इस पत्र में मुझे बताया गया है कि उस यात्रा में भाग लिए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है। कल राजस्थान के 3 MP ने मुझे पत्र लिखा था कि राजस्थान में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है। हिमाचल के सम्मानीय मुख्यमंत्री जी पर भी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए थे, उसके बाद उसमें भी कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया और उसको देखते हुए राजस्थान में कोविड ना फैले, इस विषय के लिए आप कुछ कार्यवाही करिए। उसको देखते हुए मैंने मिनिस्ट्री में एक्सपर्ट लोगों की राय ली, बातचीत किया और उसके आधार पर मैंने भारत जोड़ो यात्रा के इंचार्ज कन्वीनर राहुल जी को एक पत्र लिखा और एक गहलोत जी को पत्र लिखा और मैंने कहा कि भाई मुझे ऐसा पत्र मिला है और इस पत्र में मुझे बताया गया है कि उस यात्रा में भाग लिए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है, तो उसके लिए प्रिकॉशन लिया जाए, कोविड प्रोटोकॉल का पालन किया जाए। लेकिन आज सुबह से मैं देख रहा हूं जिस तरह से मुझे कोट करके कोविड के संदर्भ में मुझे क्वेश्चंस कर रहे हैं, आपने ऐसी चिट्ठी नहीं लिखनी चाहिए, क्यों लिखा? मैं भारत सरकार का हेल्थ मिनिस्टर होने के नाते मेरा दायित्व है कि देश में कोविड ना फैले, देश के सभी नागरिक स्वस्थ रहे। लेकिन कोई खास फैमिली के प्रोटेक्शन में आके एक देश के हेल्थ मिनिस्टर अपना दायित्व अदा करता हो, कोविड प्रोटोकॉल का पालन करके कोविड ना फैले उसके लिए कोई मार्गदर्शक सूचना जारी करे, तो उसके खिलाफ भी प्रश्न उठाना मैं मानता हूं कि ये मेरे कर्तव्य निर्वहन करने के लिए बाधा रूप है।
So that's a response from the Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia, who says, I am only and only for warning as my duty as the Health Minister. But the Congress party has hit back. The Congress says that this is nothing but politics and the idea is only and only to hit out at Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra. Let's listen in to what they had to say.
वो केंद्रीय स्वास्थ्य मंत्री है। अभी मैंने पत्र देखा है, कल का ही है। आप देखिएगा इनके हालात क्या कहते, बौखलाहट है। 2 मेंबर पार्लियामेंट, एक पीपी चौधरी पाली के, एक निहाल सिंह जी गंगानगर के, वो कल ही पत्र लिखते हैं उनको कि राजस्थान में यात्रा चल रही है और राहुल गांधी जी की भारत जोड़ो यात्रा, और क्यों कोरोना फैल रहा है तो इसलिए आप इनको पाबंद करें कि ये कोरोना किस प्रकार से यात्रा कर रहे हैं। और तो मनसुख जी जो है उसी 20 तारीख को पत्र लिख रहे राहुल गांधी जी को, कल ही लिख रहे हैं लेटर। अभी हमारे पास तो सोशल मीडिया में आया है कि आप ये सब प्रिकॉशन कीजिएगा, मास्क की भी, डिस्टेंसिंग की भी, क्वारंटाइन करने की भी। ये बौखलाहट का एक बड़ा नमूना सामने आया देश के सामने। मेरे ख्याल से यात्रा शुरू होने के बाद में पहला पत्र आया होगा केंद्रीय मंत्री का, तो आप सोच सकते हो कि कितनी घबराई हुई है केंद्र सरकार कि केंद्रीय मंत्री लिख रहे हैं भूमिका बनाने के लिए कल हमें रोकनी पड़े यात्रा को आगे, तो कम से कम हम भूमिका बनाए। उस आधार बनाने के लिए पत्र लिखा गया होगा, जो मैं अभी देख रहा हूँ। अभी मैं रास्ते में पढ़ के उतरा ही हूँ, तो आप सोच सकते हो कि ये हालात है। तो बीजेपी खुद विचलित हो गई है, डिस्टर्ब हो गई है, और होना स्वाभाविक है। जो सफलता मिल रही है यात्रा को, अभी इनके नड्डा साहब आए थे यहाँ जयपुर में, अभी 10 दिन पहले 15 दिन पहले आए थे, आक्रोश रैली का आह्वान किया, वो मीटिंग भी फेल हुई उनकी। अब आक्रोश रैलियाँ वो कहाँ गई इनकी, वो छिप गई है या गायब हो गई है। 2-3 जगह विरोध हुआ उनका, हमने पढ़ा अखबारों के अंदर। तो इनकी आक्रोश रैली फेल हो रही है।
भारत जोड़ो यात्रा के चलते मोदी सरकार खुद बुखलाए हुए हैं। आप भारत जोड़ो यात्रा के असर खुद देख रहे हो कि महाराष्ट्र में बीजेपी नस्तानाबूद हो चुके हैं, सुपरा साफ होने जा रहे हैं बीजेपी। तो ये डर के मारे ये आम लोगों की निगाह भटकाने के लिए बुखलाए हुए बीजेपी पार्टी ये तरह तरह की सारे सवाल उठा रहे हैं। बीजेपी पार्टी को ये कहना चाहता हूँ, गुजरात में जब चुनाव हुई थी, मोदी जी घर घर गए थे, क्या मास्क लगा के, क्या लोगों को सारे प्रोटोकॉल मानते हुए गए थे? मंडविया के मैं पूछना चाहता है कि राहुल गांधी की पदयात्रा शायद आपको अच्छा नहीं लगते होंगे, लेकिन सारे हिंदुस्तान के लोग इसमें दिलचस्पी दिखा रहे हैं, शामिल हो रहे हैं, और इसके चलते बीजेपी की जो गोदी मीडिया की चलते जो प्रचार चलते थे उसमें भी अभी छेद आने लगी, क्योंकि सोशल मीडिया में छाए हुए हैं राहुल गांधी जी की भारत जोड़ो यात्रा। नफरत छोड़ो, भारत जोड़ो, ये लोगों में काफी इसका असर हुए हैं, ये जानता है मोदी सरकार। इसलिए मंडविया को तैनात किया गया कि कुछ बहाना बना के ये आम लोगों की निगाह भटकाया जाए।
In what has become another big face-off between the centre and the Congress party, this time over the judiciary. While addressing the Congress parliamentary meeting, Sonia Gandhi has alleged that the ministers in this government are attacking the judiciary on various grounds and also making attempts to reduce the standing of the judiciary. The government has hit right back. Union Law Minister says there is no conflict between the government and the judiciary.
सोनिया गांधी ने ये कहा कि सरकार और जुडिशरी के बीच में जो टकराव है वो बहुत डिस्टर्बिंग है, क्या कहेंगे?
कोई टकराव नहीं है, हम अपना पोजीशन को बता रहे हैं। कांग्रेस के लोग ही जुडिशरी को अटैक करते हैं और कपिल सिब्बल साहब ने कहा कि इनको सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कोई विश्वास नहीं रह गया है। कपिल सिब्बल ने कहा ना, ही हैज लॉस्ट फेथ इन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया। ऐसे बातें हम इस्तेमाल नहीं करते हैं। हम जुडिशरी को इज्जत देते हैं। जुडिशरी के साथ मिलकर के ही न्याय व्यवस्था को ठीक करना चाहिए। अगर मैं कुछ मुद्दे सामने में रखता हूं तो वो जवाब होता है। मुझे पार्लियामेंट में जब सवाल पूछते हैं तो मेरा दायित्व होता है उसका जवाब देना। ये जुडिशरी पे हमला नहीं होता है। और हमारे सरकार पिछले 8 सालों में आपने देखा होगा, मोदी जी के सरकार जो चल रहे हैं, एक ऐसा हमने बात नहीं की, ऐसा कदम नहीं उठाया जिससे जुडिशरी को नुकसान हो। हम इस चीज़ को भरपूर मानते हैं कि जुडिशरी को सम्मान देना हमारा दायित्व है और सरकार और जुडिशरी मिलकर ही हम लोगों का न्याय का व्यवस्था को खड़ा करना है।
Yet another controversy for Rahul Gandhi in his Bharat Jodo Yatra. Watch how Rahul shoves a man on stage. A person who approached Rahul to click pictures faced an angry Rahul. Rahul is seen forcibly shoving the hand of the man. BJP launched an attack on Rahul Gandhi while sharing the video and said that Rahul needs lessons on how to conduct himself in public. Bureau Report for Republic TV.
Let's also get you highlights of the politics over Tawang that still continues. In fact, we've seen that playing out earlier in the parliament. The opposition demands a debate on the entire issue, and the government hits back saying that the Raksha Mantri and the Home Minister already have replied. These are some of the reactions.
डिमांड यही है कि सदन में चर्चा चाहते हैं। जो चाइनीज आक्रमण कर रहा है उसके बारे में सदन को इंफॉर्मेशन दो, ताकि सदन के ओर से सारे देश के लोगों को मालूम हो। यही चर्चा अगर नहीं हुई, एक तरफा उत्तर हुआ, तो उसका क्या मतलब?
सबसे बड़ी मांग कोई मांग नहीं है। मांग एक ही है कि चाइना के घुसपैठ की सूचना मिल रही है हिंदुस्तानी बॉर्डर पर। सदन सर्वोच्च और सदन में इस बात पर पूर्णतः पूरी स्थिति की जानकारी सरकार को देनी चाहिए। सरकार क्यों उससे भाग रही है और अगर सरकार उस पर चर्चा कराने में कोई ऐतराज क्यों है, और अगर कोई ऐतराज है तो इसका मतलब है कि दाल में कुछ काला है, इसलिए सरकार चर्चा नहीं करना चाहती। हम लोग की मांग है कि सरकार इस पर जवाब दे, बताए और उस पर चर्चा हो।
हमारी मांग है कि चीन के मामले पर संसद में चर्चा हो। जो सरकार ने चुप्पी साध ली है, सरकार ने मौन व्रत धारण कर लिया है, उससे जो विपक्ष परेशान हो। कहता आप कुछ तो बताओ।
सवाल ये खड़ा होता है, क्या एक परिवार सब प्रोटोकॉल से ऊपर है? ये तो मैं मान सकता हूं कि आज भी गांधी परिवार में कांग्रेस के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष को ज़्यादा एक परिवार को मान्यता मिलती है, लेकिन देश का प्रोटोकॉल, कोविड का प्रोटोकॉल तो उनको फॉलो करना पड़ेगा। आखिर क्या कारण है कि आज भी एक पार्टी, एक राजनीतिक दल एक परिवार तक अपने आप को सीमित रखता है और उसके लिए सारे प्रोटोकॉल तोड़ने के लिए भी तैयार होता है?
मैं इतना ही कहना, आई वुड लाइक टू टेल ओनली वन थिंग। तो उनको बीच बीच में महात्मा गांधी जी याद आता है, ये नकली कांग्रेस, नकली गांधी और नकली कांग्रेस को। ये तो अच्छी बात है, That's a good thing. But I would like to remind them one thing. Whatever has happened during their tenure, whatever we have lost as far as our land is concerned in the border, let them remind that, and how we sacrificed because of their grand old leader Pandit Nehru, what we have lost and what we have gained. Let them study first, and how we lost the permanent membership UN Security Council, that also let them study. And after that, if they go and sit, and Mahatma Gandhi ji will definitely give them a wisdom.
We are heading into a break right now. When we come back, the Union Health Minister hits back at the Congress outraging over the COVID norms warning. He says it is his duty as the Health Minister to warn. Also, as Sonia Gandhi raises concerns on the China incursion, the government hits back, says the Congress should read history first.
Guys, just 1 second. Choosing a car for my mom.
What? Online car shopping? Wow, that's so cool, yeah.
शाहरुख ने बताया.
Wait up. Booking a car service.
From here.
क्यों? तुझे शाहरुख ने नहीं बताया?
इसने पूछा ही नहीं. There's so much more जो शाहरुख ने नहीं बताया. It's all on the industry first My Hyundai app. Open a world of possibility with My Hyundai app. One app, many worlds.
क्या हुआ रोहन? क्या सोच रहा है?
रिया, पहली सैलरी मिली है, तुम भी कुछ आइडिया दो. एक्सपेंसेस को कैसे प्लान किया जाए?
रोहन, एक्सपेंसेस के साथ साथ इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान करना भी जरूरी है.
देखो, सैलरी का कुछ हिस्सा घर के रेगुलर खर्चे के लिए और कुछ मैं अपने लिए भी तो सोच सकता हूँ ना. लेकिन इन्वेस्ट कहाँ करूँ?
सिंपल है, एनपीएस में.
एनपीएस में? रिया, अभी तो मैंने कमाना शुरू किया है. इतना आगे के लिए अभी से क्यों पैसे जोड़ूं?
वो देखो, एक एक करके ईंट जोड़ी जाती है, तब जाके एक घर तैयार होता है. वैसे ही अभी से पैसे जोड़कर हम भी अपना रिटायरमेंट सुखी बना सकते हैं.
बात में तो दम है.
एनपीएस कम लागत वाली फ्लेक्सिबल लॉन्ग टर्म योजना है, जिससे आपकी बचत ग्रो होकर पेंशन का लाभ देती है.
अच्छा, फिर तो मैं अभी अपना एनपीएस अकाउंट ओपन करता हूँ.
जो कल की सोचते हैं वो आज से ही थोड़ा थोड़ा जोड़ते हैं.
पेंशन है तो टेंशन नहीं. एनपीएस में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है.
आज की पेशकश
अच्छी है, पर ये चाय रोज मिलेगी?
रिटायर होने वाला हूँ, रोज नहीं, लाइफ लॉन्ग मिलेगी, ये मेरी गारंटी है.
कुछ चीजों का साथ हमेशा होना चाहिए, जैसे HDFC लाइफ एन्युटी प्लान्स जो दे लाइफ लॉन्ग मंथली गारंटीड इनकम. HDFC लाइफ, सर उठा के जियो.
मैग्निफिसेंट पिक्चर, मैग्निफिसेंट साउंड, magnificent experience, Magnifique, high performance TVs by Aiwa Japan, now in India.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a path drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
India on COVID alert mode, set to issue fresh guidelines for travellers from China, begins random testing and sampling at international airports. Amid surge in COVID cases in multiple countries, government holds review meet, ramps up preparations to tackle COVID.
भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है.
Union Health Minister hits back at Congress outraging over COVID norms warning, says my duty as a health minister to warn. Home Minister Amit Shah's stern warning on forced conversions in Parliament says strict action will be taken.
बीच बीच में महात्मा गांधी जी याद आता है, ये नकली कांग्रेस, नकली गांधी और नकली कांग्रेस को, ये तो अच्छी बात है, दैट्स ए गुड थिंग.
Sonia Gandhi raises concerns on China incursion. Government hits back. Union Minister says Congress should read history first.
कांग्रेस के लोग ही जुडिशरी को अटैक करते हैं और कपिल सिब्बल साहब ने कहा कि इनको सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कोई विश्वास नहीं रह गया है.
Union Law Minister hits back at Sonia Gandhi's allegations on judiciary, says no conflict between government and judiciary and the Congress is politicizing the issue. Very good evening and thank you for tuning in. You're watching the news at 5:30. I'm Suesha Samant and our focus is on how India is preparing if there could be a fourth wave of COVID. Now, China and US have recorded a surge in cases and India has ramped up preparedness. Top health ministry sources have suggested that random sampling and testing of foreign travellers has begun at the Delhi airport. The government is very closely watching the situation in China. Sources also say that the government is set to issue a fresh set of guidelines for travellers from China. Several reactions coming in on this, as masks must be worn both indoors and outdoors, is what the Niti Aayog is saying. Listen in.
Ministerial level review will be undertaken. No panic, abundant precaution. अगर हम उस तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं तो abundant precaution के क्या मुद्दे हैं? पहली बात है कि खांसी जुकाम इस मौसम में होता है. हम विंटर में हैं, हम ठंड के मौसम में हैं. तो पहली अपील ये है कि खांसी जुकाम हो रहा है तो आज की सिचुएशन को देखते हुए अपील करना चाहेंगे कि उसमें आप टेस्टिंग करवा लीजिए. हो सकता है और 90% चांस है कि शायद ये नॉन कोविड होगा, लेकिन अगर हमने अर्ली डिटेक्शन करनी है तो तभी करेंगे, कोई टेस्ट करवाएंगे. तो एक अपील भी है और सिस्टम भी इसको प्रोत्साहित करेगा कि टेस्टिंग हो. टेस्टिंग बढ़ेगी तो हमारा फुटप्रिंट ज़्यादा होता है, प्रॉब्लम जो है वो डिटेक्ट होगी, उस वायरस का आइसोलेशन होगा, उस वायरस का जीनोम होगा, तो हमें पूरी ताकत मिलेगी और हमें समझ रहे कि हम किस तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं. दूसरी अबंडेंट प्रिकॉशन क्या है कि हमें प्रिकॉशन डोज हमारी ड्यू है. लगभग देश में 18 के ऊपर प्रिकॉशन डोज सबको लगनी चाहिए, लेकिन लगी है सिर्फ 27-28%. तो देश में 18 के ऊपर प्रिकॉशन डोज सबको लगनी चाहिए, लेकिन लगी है सिर्फ 27-28%. तो हम अपील करेंगे कि प्रिकॉशन डोज जिसको नहीं लगी है वो ले लीजिए. ये भारत की पेंडेमिक रिस्पांस का एक पिलर है, पॉलिसी है, वैक्सीन अवेलेबल हैं, तो उसको तरफ जाइए. और पर्टिकुलरली जो हमारे सिटीजन्स, सीनियर सिटीजन्स हैं, वो कोई छूट गए हैं प्रिकॉशन डोज से, तो हमेशा की तरह जैसे हम पहले भी अपील करते थे कि उनका हमें ज़्यादा ख्याल करना है. सीनियर सिटीजन्स क्योंकि वल्नरेबल हैं और बीमारी वाले व्यक्ति वल्नरेबल ज़्यादा होते हैं, तो ये खासकर उनके लिए अपील है कि अगर आपको प्रिकॉशन डोज नहीं लगी तो लीजिए, लेकिन सभी को प्रिकॉशन डोज जो है वो मैंडेटेड है, गाइडेड है और उसको आप लीजिए. अगला पॉइंट ये आता है कि हमें इसके अलावा भी जनरल प्रिकॉशंस लेनी है, जो कि कोविड अप्रोप्रिएट बिहेवियर की बात हम करते हैं. उसकी एडवाइजरी अभी भी हम क्या कहते हैं कि अगर हम क्राउडेड प्लेस में हैं, चाहे बाहर, जैसे मैं अब क्राउडिंग में आ गया हूं तो मुझे मास्क लगाना है. अंदर भी अगर क्राउडिंग है तो वहां भी हमने मास्क लगाना है. इसी प्रकार सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग की जो एडवाइजरी अभी तक है आपके समक्ष, उसका ख्याल रखिए. एंड अगेन देयर those with comorbidities, those with a particular age, senior citizens, उनके लिए ये और भी ज़रूरी है. और ये हमें अपनी नॉर्मल लाइफ को लीड करते हुए, नॉर्मल काम करते हुए इनका ये प्रिकॉशन हमें लेनी है, ताकि हम अपने आप को भी बचाएं और जो ट्रांसमिशन होती है वायरस की, उसकी चेन भी, जो भी चल रहा है, जितना भी चल रहा है, वो ट्रांसमिशन की चेन रुकने में हम सबको मदद, क्योंकि ये तो यूनिवर्सल वैक्सीन.
And joining us on the broadcast are our guests, Dr. Ishwar Gilada, Consultant of Infectious Disease, Secretary General of Organized Medicine Academic Guild, and also with us, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Senior Pediatrician and Chairman, Nephron Clinic. I want to thank you both for joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Gilada, if I could come to you, is it time that India braces for a possible fourth wave?
I do not think there is likely to be fourth wave. I think Omicron has proved to India being a variant of support rather than variant of concern. Our weekly cases are 1,000 or 1,500 or 1,200. There's nothing to be panicked. I don't know why the circular of different states and government of India went public and the public went into panic mode. I don't think there is any need to panic. Currently, India is in a much better position because most of us have been infected. They have been saying that 90% are infected, 10% are telling lies. Secondly, 75% of us are vaccinated. And the third and most important thing is our vaccines are much better than international vaccines. So our vaccine, particularly Covishield, that has a longevity of 1 year as opposed to mRNA Pfizer vaccine, which has only a longevity of 4 months protection. And that's the reason that China is suffering today because of two things. One is the wrong policy, where they had a zero COVID policy. That is not possible with this infection. This infection has come to infect everybody. Secondly, their vaccine is not good. There has been a study done in Malaysia where they compared 3 different vaccines. AstraZeneca, there is Covishield, mRNA, and Sinovac from China. And with the breakthrough infection, how many people died? 10 times more people died of Sinovac than AstraZeneca, and 2.5 times more people died of mRNA. So our vaccine is better, our strategy is good. I don't think any need to be panicked. We don't need any kind of masking or any kind of guidelines now. If people want to wear a new mask, nobody is going to stop them. It should be voluntary, but there is no need of any compulsion on people. Let people enjoy the New Year. We have enjoyed our Navaratri, the Dashera, Diwali, nothing happened. And no escalation is going to happen at all.
Right. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, do you also hold the same view? Because fears are now strong of a new variant, and that is exactly what the government is also focusing on. Also, this time around, given the spurt in cases in China, Japan, US, South Korea, will there be any particular vulnerable groups? What is the medical fraternity preempting?
Hi, good evening. So just in chronological order, I think China has got its COVID policy wrong right from the beginning. It's not surprising. It's a very, very deep, dark, opaque society. The data from there is unknown. The number of cases are unknown. The type of subvariants are unknown. But having said that, the vaccines have always been suboptimal, even for the original strain. And now with the new sublineages of Omicron, and I must add, there are more than 620 new sublineages of Omicron, which have shown a greater vaccine escape and a greater immune escape. The efficacy is down to about 20%. There is a very large meta-analysis trial of almost 60-odd randomized controlled trials, which have shown the Chinese vaccines to be the lowest in terms of protection. The entire concept of zero COVID and the entire cities being locked down in the 3rd year of the pandemic is unscientific, unacceptable, unreal. There is a concept known as selective pressure on the vaccines, and the vaccines tend to mutate very differently when that kind of population is locked up in their homes. Having said that, what really is to be done as far as India is concerned, India is reasonably well placed. I'm not saying even for a single moment we need to be complacent. If at all, what is required is a travel advisory for people who are coming in and out of China. But the Indian vaccines, both the Indian vaccines have held very good. They have a protection of almost more than 92% against severe disease and death. Most of our adult eligible population have been well vaccinated, triple vaccinated. We need to protect the elderlies and the vulnerables, but I don't think there is any cause of anxiety or any panic. I don't think we are going to go into any lockdown. I don't think we need to worry. We just need to keep simple precautions in our mind. But keep in mind that Omicron will remain here in the world for the next few years. It will keep coming and going in different sublineages. Just keep simple precautions in your mind. Try to avoid very, very close, crowded areas, not only from COVID point of view, but from influenza and RSV and other kind of respiratory viruses. But as far as COVID is concerned, do not panic. India is well positioned and the Indian government has it under control.
All right, important word coming in from you, Dr. Bagai. I'd request you and Dr. Gilada to stay on with us on the broadcast. My colleague Madhurima is also with us as she's tracking all the updates from the Health Ministry. Madhurima, the focus primarily is on international passengers, heightening genome sequencing and its procedure, and ensuring that the B7 variant, most importantly, is tracked. What more can you tell us as far as the release of the fresh set of guidelines from the Health Ministry is concerned?
Well, Suesha, according to the Health Ministry, the first guideline that has been issued is to increase and enhance the testing and tracking, following which the samples that are being collected while testing be sent for genome sequencing. From our INSA sources, we've learned that they have also directed all the states to keep on sending the samples as per the guidelines of INSACOG for sampling and for testing of new mutations of the Omicron, like we have been talking about, and specifically for the B7 variant, because it is through genome sequencing that the spread of a virus is characterized that in a specific region, and then through containment, it is the entire spread is curbed. So all these measures are taken by were taken in the past and have now been ordered by the Health Ministry to make sure that if a cluster is produced, that if there's a cluster in a specific state, impromptu action should be taken, which is why the Health Ministry yesterday evening in a guide, in a letter to all the states and union territories had made it specific that they need to enhance their testing and tracking and the genome sequencing, and also in a very detailed meeting chaired and helmed by the Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare, Mansukh Mandavia, at the Nirman Bhavan in the national capital. He also directed that public once again has to abide by and adhere to the COVID appropriate behavior. We just heard our guest saying that this is the time of the year when infections are more it is more easy to spread an infection right now, and looking at the complex situation of the population of our country and the demographics, it is imperative that we be prudent and start adopting measures to combat the spread of COVID-19. Also, at the same time, when we talk about prudent measures, the government has already begun testing and random sampling at the airports, and specifically at the Delhi airport and international airports, so as to comb out any cases of B7 variants. So we'll have to wait and watch as to what new next specific guidelines will be issued by the Health and Family Welfare in next 24 hours. More guidelines to come. Suesha.
Absolutely, Madhurima. And Dr. Gilada, if I can request you to throw more light on the B7 variant, which is considered very highly transmissible, also one of the reasons of the spurt in cases in China. And this is also the BA5 variant, which has a higher infection ability. But as far as the BF7 variant is concerned, 3 cases of that variant that have been detected in India in the past 1 week. Tell us more about it.
You see, this is variant of Omicron only. So even though it is a little bit more infectious, nobody has proved that it requires more oxygen, it creates more demand for ICU or ventilator, or there is more death rate. So long as trajectory of the infection is just for 2-3 days you get cough or any kind of mild infections and you get away, I don't think that we should support any cause of concern for COVID. Actually speaking, because of COVID, we have lost a lot of people to other diseases due to collateral damage. To give you a simple example, for tuberculosis, we lost 500,000 people in 2021. And in entire 3 years, we lost 500,000 people to COVID. So we are not bothered about other diseases which had caused a lot of collateral damage. We are bothered about this BA.7. I think BA.7, it can be expanded as being full 7 times. China has been full 7 times, many times, possibly. And they are having that zero COVID policy that is mania. It cannot happen. And therefore, you keep on getting variant. So long as that variant doesn't become like Delta, we should not be bothered at all. So let variant come and go. They are just like any other flu or RSV. There are many other seasonal infections happening. So let us club this with a common infection other than COVID. Our COVID-centric policy has to go. We should stop all kind of panicking related to COVID. People are not going to listen to any such advices where you ask them to use mask or stop overcrowding during the New Year. That is not going to happen. So I think what Dr. Bagai is also saying, okay, same. In crowded places, you may prefer to use mask, but that will also prevent you from a lot of other infections. So be specific about other infections which are respiratory-borne infections other than only COVID.
In fact, Dr. Bagai, if I can come to you on this, exactly is the point that is being made by the Niti Aayog also. Not only is it important to mask up both indoors and outdoors and saying that crowded places must be avoided, but it is also winter season in the north especially. How do we take care? What do we need to do?
So this is a combination at the present moment, especially in northern India, not only of at the present moment very, very few and mild cases of COVID, but we are seeing a lot of upper respiratory infections. In children, we are seeing what we call as respiratory syncytial virus. We are seeing influenza in young adults and in children and in elderlies. So I think a mask will prevent a host of respiratory infections. But having said that, a universal truth is to avoid close, crowded, poorly ventilated places. It doesn't mean that a person doesn't go out, but just to keep simple precautions. Be careful of the cold, because cold precipitates respiratory diseases and chest infection. And be careful of pollution. We know that pollution, especially PM 2.5 and carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, enhances the spread of respiratory infections, and it increases cardiorespiratory metabolic diseases. So the precaution is not to expose yourself in the very early morning hours or late evening hours to the exterior, especially in the peak of the pollution time, and wear a mask, hydrate yourself well. Please do not self-medicate. Do not take antibiotics unnecessarily. Do not take combination pain medicines unnecessarily. These can be harmful. If there are symptoms of cold, cough, fever, sore throat, first isolate yourself at home. Wear a mask if you have symptoms. Contact your local doctor. They will decide what the next step is. Every fever is not COVID. I repeat again, every fever is not COVID, but please isolate yourself so that you don't transmit any infection to anyone else.
Absolutely. Dr. Bagai, Dr. Gilada, I want to thank you for joining us on the broadcast. And of course, the one message that goes out to India at this point is to be extremely careful. Thank you.
Thank you.
बीच बीच में महात्मा गांधी जी याद आता है, ये नकली कांग्रेस, नकली गांधी और नकली कांग्रेस को, ये तो अच्छी बात है, दैट्स ए गुड थिंग।
कांग्रेस के लोग ही जुडिशरी को अटैक करते हैं, और कपिल सिब्बल साहब ने कहा कि इनको सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कोई विश्वास नहीं रह गया है।
सोच रहा हूँ कमेंट्री ट्राई करूँ। मैच का आखिरी बॉल, तेज तूफानी डिलीवरी, एक धमाकेदार शॉट और ये गया छक्का।
छक्का नहीं, टूटा। आपके टाइल्स को चाहिए MY के लेटिक्रीट टाइल एडेसिव। फॉर्मूला ऐसा कि अब टाइल न टूटेगा न छूटेगा।
India welcomes those who further India's pride across the globe. Indian diaspora, partners of New India's growth journey in Amrit Kaal. Come and be a part of the 17th Pravasi Bharati Divas from 8th to 10th January 2023 at Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. For registration, log on to pbdindia.gov.in.
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
क्या हुआ रोहन, क्या सोच रहा है?
रिया पहली सैलरी मिली है, तुम भी कुछ आइडिया दो। एक्सपेंसेस को कैसे प्लान किया जाए।
रोहन, एक्सपेंसेस के साथ साथ इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान करना भी ज़रूरी है।
देखो, सैलरी का कुछ हिस्सा करके रेगुलर खर्चे के लिए और कुछ मैं अपने लिए भी तो सोच सकता हूँ ना, लेकिन इन्वेस्ट कहाँ करूँ?
सिंपल है, एनपीएस में।
एनपीएस में? भैया अभी तो मैंने कमाना शुरू किया है, इतना आगे के लिए अभी से क्यों पैसे जोड़ूं?
वो देखो, एक एक करके ईंट जोड़ी जाती है, तब जाके एक घर तैयार होता है। वैसे ही अभी से पैसे जोड़कर हम भी अपना रिटायरमेंट सुखी बना सकते हैं।
बात में तो दम है।
एनपीएस कम लागत वाली फ्लेक्सिबल लॉन्ग टर्म योजना है, जिससे आपकी बचत ग्रो होकर पेंशन का लाभ देती है।
अच्छा, फिर तो मैं अभी अपना एनपीएस अकाउंट ओपन करता हूँ।
जो कल की सोचते हैं वो आज से ही थोड़ा थोड़ा जोड़ते हैं।
पेंशन है तो टेंशन नहीं। एनपीएस में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है।
Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya wrote a letter to Rahul Gandhi and Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot asking them to ensure that COVID-19 guidelines are followed during the Bharat Jodo Yatra and not violated. He also requested that the Bharat Jodo Yatra be postponed in national interest, taking note of public health emergency. BJP launched an all-out attack on the Congress over the brazen violation of COVID-19 norms at Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra. No masks, no sanitizers or vaccination proof for the participants in the Yatra, where the BJP called it COVID Jodo Yatra. Despite the government making its position clear on Tawang, opposition politics continues to rage on. Mallikarjun Kharge, an opposition leader, staged a protest in front of the Gandhi statue at the parliament today. Breaking up the Tawang face-off in parliament, Sonia Gandhi raised questions over the intention of the government behind not holding a discussion on the situation at the border region, asking why the government is not sending out a reply to Chinese transgression.
Ladies and gentlemen, you expected the puzzle, but for a law enforcement, this is not a game. Explain it to us, detective. Always! Everyone is in danger.
All right, when's the murder mystery start?
Yeah, Ajay, look at your dad. Will we be the same at his age?
Absolutely yes, if we plan our future like him.
How?
My father had invested in LIC's Jeevan Akshay, which gives immediate and guaranteed annuity at regular intervals, that too for life.
Wow. But do we have to wait until his age?
Absolutely not. We recently invested in LIC's new Jeevan Shanti, which gives deferred annuity, which means regular income after some years.
I see.
LIC.
LIC's annuity plans give 10 annuity options and flexibility in receiving regular income. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Reimagineering brighter futures with smarter steels. ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India. Smarter steels, brighter futures.
With Beto's Diabetes Care Program, you get online doctor consultations, all your prescribed medicines and dietitian support on call. Get your complete diabetes management kit and expert advice with Beto's Diabetes Care Program. Give a missed call on 740-1100.
India welcomes those who further India's pride across the globe. Indian diaspora, partners of New India's growth journey in Amrit Kaal. Come and be a part of the 17th Pravasi Bharati Divas from 8th to 10th January 2023 at Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. For registration, log on to pbdindia.gov.in.
In its latest edict cracking down on women's rights and freedoms, the Taliban administration of Afghanistan have banned women from private and public universities. Despite initially promising a more moderate rule and women's and minority rights, the Taliban have widely implemented their harsh interpretation of the Islamic law. Taliban have banned girls from middle school and high school, restricted women from most employment, and ordered them to wear head-to-toe clothing in public. The United States has slammed the Taliban over its regressive diktat.
The Taliban made promises to the people of Afghanistan and to the international community that schools would reopen. They claimed that this was a matter of procedures and arrangement would be quickly reversed. Now, we hear the opposite. An order from the so-called Higher Education Ministry yesterday states that women cannot attend universities either. With the implementation of this decree, half of the Afghan population will soon be unable to access education beyond primary school.
With rights and freedoms under threat, women in Afghanistan are now sounding an SOS to the global community. Bureau Report for Republic TV.
Time for a short break. On the other side, getting you details as India is on COVID alert mode, set to issue a fresh set of guidelines for travellers from China, begin random testing and sampling at international airports.
An unshakable belief, a 360-degree holistic model of development, and a strong team of 300 people is transforming millions of lives in rural Maharashtra.
Build hope, we build aspiration, we allow them, we give them the tools with which to dream.
Catch the second episode of Swadesh Foundation's Swa Se Bane Desh this weekend only on Republic TV.
Hey Rahul, what's up?
Hey, kicked about our first date?
Of course.
Benefits up to rupees 30,000 only at the Citroën C3 Carnival. Book today.
सुनो, फिर से शादी करनी? अब तो मैं रिटायर होने वाला हूँ। उसके बाद तो टाइम ही टाइम होगा एक दूसरे के लिए। हर हफ्ते लॉन्ग ड्राइव्स, मूवीज।
पर रिटायरमेंट के बाद लाइफ इतनी इजी थोड़ी होगी।
मेरी बेटी को कोई कमी नहीं होनी चाहिए, हाँ? महीने में कितना कमा लेते हो तुम?
तो कर लें शादी।
HDFC लाइफ एन्युटी।
रिटायरमेंट के बाद भी सैलरी मिलेगी। बता देना अपने पापा को। HDFC Life Annuity plans the lifelong monthly guaranteed income, ताकि रिटायरमेंट के बाद भी लाइफ पहले जैसी ही रहे। HDFC Life, सर उठा के जियो। आइए नए उत्तर प्रदेश की क्षमता और असीमित अवसरों से सफलता की नई कहानी लिखें। यूपी ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर्स समिट 10 से 12 फरवरी 2023। नए भारत के ग्रोथ इंजन उत्तर प्रदेश में निवेश करें।
कल ही मुनमुन ने डीपी खिंचवाने के लिए अपना फोन किसी रैंडम इंसान को पकड़ा दिया और ये वाला भी फोन लेके भाग गया। लेकिन मुनमुन तो झूम रही है क्योंकि जियो मार्ट के ग्रैंड फिनाले सेल में शॉपिंग पर मिलेगा अप टू 80% ऑफ। तो साल जैसा भी गया हो, एंडिंग तो जबरदस्त होगी।
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district. The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a Pak drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
Welcome, you're watching a special episode of This Is Exclusive. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll take you through some of those serious concerns that are now coming up over that COVID spike in China. Not just that, there have also been cases that have been reported in the United States of America, Japan, and what's the impact going to be in India? There is a growing chorus that flights coming in all the way from China to India should be banned. Will that be a decision that the government will be taking at this point in time or not? And whether are we to be afraid of what's really happening? All of this and much more on this edition of This Is Exclusive. But up first, these are the headlines we are tracking for you at this hour. India on COVID alert mode, set to issue fresh guidelines for travellers from China. Begins random testing and sampling at international airports. Amid surge in COVID cases in multiple countries, government holds review meet, ramps up preparations to tackle COVID. Exclusive scoop on whereabouts of India's most dreaded gangster, Harry Chatta. Sources claim that he could likely be in Pakistan. Gangster turned terrorist escapes to Pakistan with help of fake passports. We get you exclusive details of this racket that has prevailed. Pakistan yet again resorts to its nefarious plot. Drone and drugs recovered from border by the BSF troops.
पाकिस्तान में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है.
Union Health Minister hits back at Congress, outraging over COVID norms. Warning, says my duty as Health Minister to warn. Starting this edition with some breaking news now coming in. As China and US record surge in the COVID cases, India has now ramped up the preparedness. Top health ministry sources suggest that random sampling and testing of foreign travellers has begun at the Delhi airport. Government is closely watching the situation in China. Sources also say that government is set to issue fresh guidelines for travellers from China. Why exactly all of this is happening, we'll get you more details right now. What's the situation in India? Let's take you through some of the details that we have at this point in time, with the focus essentially being on the BF7 variant. India's focus essentially being on the BF7 variant, primarily because of 3 cases of BF7 variant has already been found. In fact, doctors suspect that this variant, which is raging across China, could become a cause of concern in India. In fact, more details now coming in that the first case of the BF7 in India was detected in October by the Gujarat Biotechnology Research Centre. So far, 2 cases have been reported from Gujarat, while 1 case has been reported from Orissa. Now, in fact, there has also been a COVID review meeting that was chaired by Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia. That was on Wednesday, saying that there's no overall increase in COVID caseload as of now. There is a need for continued surveillance to keep a track of existing and emerging variants. Now, what's really happening in China and what is it that we need to pick up? In fact, Chinese cities are currently hit by the highly transmissible Omicron strain. Mostly that's the BF7, which is the main variant that's spreading in Beijing and is contributing to a wider surge of COVID infections in that country. Now, as we understand, this variant is highly transmissible, and we're given to understand that the reason why there's been a massive caseload in China is only because of this current variant. A little bit more details that we're going to pick up right now, also on the B7 variant. But before we proceed, we do have right now a reaction coming in from the government. Let's listen.
ministerial level review will be undertaken. No panic, abundant precaution. अगर हम उस तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं तो abundant precaution के क्या मुद्दे हैं? पहली बात है कि खांसी जुकाम इस मौसम में होता है, हम विंटर में हैं, हम ठंड के मौसम में हैं, तो पहली अपील ये है कि खांसी जुकाम हो रहा है तो आज की सिचुएशन को देखते हुए अपील करना चाहेंगे कि उसमें आप टेस्टिंग करवा लीजिए। हो सकता है और 90% चांस है कि शायद ये नॉन कोविड होगा, लेकिन अगर हमने अर्ली डिटेक्शन करनी है तो तभी करेंगे, कोई टेस्ट करवाएंगे। तो एक अपील भी है और सिस्टम भी इसको प्रोत्साहित करेगा कि टेस्टिंग हो, टेस्टिंग बढ़ेगी तो हमारा फुटप्रिंट ज़्यादा होता है, प्रॉब्लम जो है वो डिटेक्ट होगी, उस वायरस का आइसोलेशन होगा, उस वायरस का जीनोम होगा, तो हमें पूरी ताकत मिलेगी और हमें समझ रहे कि हम किस तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं। दूसरी अबंडेंट प्रिकॉशन क्या है कि हमें प्रिकॉशन डोज हमारी ड्यू है। लगभग देश में 18 के ऊपर प्रिकॉशन डोज सबको लगनी चाहिए, लेकिन लगी है सिर्फ 27-28% को। देश में 18 के ऊपर प्रिकॉशन डोज सबको लगनी चाहिए, लेकिन लगी है सिर्फ 27-28%। तो हम अपील करेंगे कि प्रिकॉशन डोज जिसको नहीं लगी है वो ले लीजिए। ये भारत की पेंडेमिक रिस्पांस का एक पिलर है, पॉलिसी है, वैक्सीन अवेलेबल हैं, तो उसको तरफ जाइए। और पर्टिकुलरली जो हमारे सिटीजन्स, सीनियर सिटीजन्स हैं, वो कोई छूट गए हैं प्रिकॉशन डोज से, तो हमेशा की तरह जैसे हम पहले भी अपील करते थे कि उनका हमें ज़्यादा ख्याल करना है। सीनियर सिटीजन्स क्योंकि वल्नरेबल हैं और बीमारी वाले व्यक्ति वल्नरेबल ज़्यादा होते हैं, तो ये खासकर उनके लिए अपील है कि अगर आपको प्रिकॉशन डोज नहीं लगी तो लीजिए, लेकिन सभी को प्रिकॉशन डोज जो है वो मैंडेटेड है, गाइडेड है और उसको आप लीजिए। अगला पॉइंट ये आता है कि हमें इसके अलावा भी जनरल प्रिकॉशंस लेनी।
In fact, we're getting in some more breaking news, and I'll also bring in our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor, is joining us from the Delhi newsroom. In fact, the latest now coming in from Maharashtra, where we're given to understand that few samples from Maharashtra, in fact, has been sent for genome sequencing. In fact, more details also coming up in a short while from now as to what's going to happen in the airport right now, because there has been a growing demand that all the flights that are basically coming in from China should be placed under a ban. But that's the latest we're getting in from Maharashtra in terms of the genome sequencing that's going to take place from the samples that have been sent. Let me go across to Abhishek for more details on this. Abhishek, what's becoming abundantly clear is that the government is treading on a cautious path. The mistake that we made when the first wave actually started here in India, a lot of criticism that the government had to face because of acting perhaps a little later. This time, it does appear, Abhishek, that they are being extremely cautious. So what is it that you're picking up from the government at this point in time? What is the plan of action like?
Even this time, Shravan, it seems that the government is scrambling after some cases have already appeared, including, 3 which are those Chinese variant strains, BF7, latest being one in Vadodara in Gujarat, and the woman under the spotlight seems to have traveled from the United States. So it seems the government, though not really caught napping, is a sort of, maybe a week or two delayed in terms of the kind of response that was needed. We have seen how a quick response can really make a difference in terms of the speed and scale of the spread of the virus. It's good that it is happening now, and the scramble is very visible in terms of the meetings that are taking place, the instructions that are going, the guidelines that are being put in place or brought back. That's significant. And it's important that the citizenry and the population, they also understand that they have to do their bit by way of vaccination doses, as VK Paul was mentioning, in case the precaution doses are not taken, and rest of the population which has really not graduated to vaccination, get that done. And that's very important. Get the masks back in crowded places and get the protocols running, including, if need be, in events like the Bharat Jodo Yatra. They should not be becoming super spreaders. Remember what the health minister said. He said that the Himachal Pradesh chief minister has got COVID after he appeared or made an appearance at Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra. So it's significant. I think the scramble is real, and the threat also is super real. What's happening in China is really stupid. The Chinese sort of presented just in the month of October, Shravan, remember during the National Congress, the Chinese Communist Party leadership held by Xi Jinping presented their zero COVID policy as the panacea, as the best model in the world. And now What is happening in China is absolutely shameful. The communist state has really left its citizens to fend for themselves and effectively taken a call that if people want to die, they can die, but then the economy should not be affected. They are not vaccinated fully, they are not immune, and there is a likelihood that China again, like in 2020, might become a super spreader around the world. And that's why precaution is the best vaccine, precaution is the best medicine, as we have learned the hard way over the last first, second and third wave. And hopefully everyone would be listening to the government this time and following the protocols and procedures that are put in place. Shawan.
Well, in fact, Abhishek, I just also want to get a sense from you. Is this a panic reaction? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about, as you rightly pointed out, some of these cases were reported about a few days ago. But what is the sense that you're getting? Why this sudden panic reaction right now from the government at this point in time? Or would you say that this was already happening? It's just that, it is best to be a little bit more cautious, and that's exactly the route that has been taken by the government at this point in time. And then I'll go across to Alisha also, because I'm told that some developments also taking place in the state of Maharashtra, where genome sequencing samples have been sent for genome sequencing. But on the note of whether at all this is a panic reaction, because a lot of our viewers also, Abhishek, who would be tuning in right now, we need to understand one thing, that perhaps not to really scare them, that what are the facilities that are already in place. So I want you to weigh in on the fact that whether at all this is some sort of a panic reaction.
For whatever we have suffered, Shawan, panic reaction is a good reaction. Sooner the better. And if you are on your feet quicker, then obviously the reaction time gets, you get more reaction time, you get more time to organize yourself, you get more infrastructure in place. I think in that sense, the government perhaps, even if it's panicking, though it's not panicking, it's in control, it's sort of giving out the instructions, making sure that the instructions are followed up. It could have been done a week back as well. We need not be reacting to the Chinese. Chinese deserve their own whatever fate they get. But sooner the better. And I think it's whatever is happening now is absolutely in line with what is required medically, epidemiologically, administratively. And that's what's happening, thankfully.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek. I'll still request you to stay on with us, because we're focusing on what's really happening right now. We're also going to be joined in by some experts on this broadcast, but let me also quickly get in a word from my colleague Alisha, who's joining us on this broadcast. Alisha, as far as Maharashtra is concerned, it's always a huge cause of concern, given the fact that, the population being the way it is, the density of the population, it has always been a big headache for the government also. As I understand, some of the samples in Maharashtra have already been sent for genome sequencing. What more are you picking up in terms of the steps that are already being taken by the government?
Well, yes, Shobhan, we know that this is something a matter of concern, and the Maharashtra government will definitely look into it, because the information that we are getting is that there are few samples have already been sent for genome sequencing, and here comes the steps that the guideline that has to be taken up by the Maharashtra government as well. But if we read out some of the important points, because it's a China variant BF7, which is in India now, and as ministry sources which clearly confirm that it's 3 cases have been found in India. So it is something the ministry is going to regulate over it, and moreover there are the more cases that is going to be come or not. It's something update that we are going to get it from the health ministry, because here where we see that the health ministry is being constantly keeping a close eye over this new variant that has been come up in India, and we have 3 cases of BF7 variant in India. But now what we know when it comes to Maharashtra, when yes, even earlier we saw that there were various steps and precautions that was taken by Maharashtra government when it comes to the COVID and even the Delta variant, or even if it's a Omicron. But now if it's some of the samples that has already been sent to genome sequencing is something the Maharashtra government will even discuss about it, whether the fact the testing that has to be again going to be rapidly has to be, they have to go door-to-door testing is something the matter of discussion is what the government will also look into it.
Well, thank you very much, Alisha, for getting us the latest update from Maharashtra. We're also joined by the former president of the IMA, Dr. Jailal. I'll also try and bring in Abhishek in a short while from now to take a few more questions from Dr. Jailal. Dr. Jailal, if I can take that first question from you. I was asking this question from my colleague Abhishek that whether at all this is some sort of a panic reaction or not. At the end of the day, we're talking about a variant which is highly transmissible and it is creating havoc in China. We are already seeing few cases that have been reported here in India. I want you to weigh in about the current situation and how concerned should we be?
Yeah, definitely we are concerned about this, but there is no need to get panic. India is one country where we have all the things are set in force, like our infrastructure, manpower training, and the drugs, and everything is there. Only thing that we are lacking in the genome sequencing. Now the government of India has also now started doing the genome sequencing in appropriate way. We have already had 3 cases. That shows that there is a possibility of that cases have been infiltrated India. All these cases has some foreign connection also. So it is mandatorily required to have a control over the international borders or international airports where the checking in has to be enhanced. Otherwise, as usual, the routine protocol has to be maintained, especially we are entering into a festive season. There's a lot of festival, lot of traffic jam, a lot of people are traveling, and this needs to be little concerned. So the government has to strictly warn them. It should not go out of hand. Probably the government should definitely ensure that the masking has to be enforced. Even now, the airports and the aircrafts are not doing the mask. Mask, they are not putting that. So that should be ensured. India is fortunate that we had a hybrid immunity because more than 90% has already immunized. Though this virus is said to have escape phenomena with the virus, but yet too that has to be proved. So at this point, definitely India is concerned about this. There is no need to put a panic button, but only thing at this time we need to put on the international border security and also have the basic protocol of the COVID has to be updated in all mass gatherings wherever we are meeting.
Dr. Jailal, in terms of this particular variant, what is it that one needs to be wary about? Is there anything that we do know about this variant? And the question that would be on the top of everyone's mind is that with the booster doses in, are we really well prepared to tackle this particular variant?
No, as per the scientific data available, this variant can escape the immune phenomena. Even if you are taking the booster dose or if you are already had 2 vaccine times the virus, you are still liable to get infection. The transmissibility is very high. The possibility of mortality is also going to be increased. So we need to be extra cautious on that. So previously when the second wave come and those who are doctors who have already immunized, they will always take it in a very positive and face that in a very bold step. But now even the medical fraternity will be little cautious because there is a concerns that are raised about the immune escape. So there is no guarantee that those who have taken even the booster dose will be immune to this disease. And we should always remember in the second wave and the first wave,
we seem to be having some problem with Dr. Jailal's audio as well as video link. We'll try and reconnect with him in a short while from now. But as Dr. Jailal was also pointing out that even though we have taken the booster dose, that may not really be enough. But we perhaps need to qualify that with some more details coming in from our experts. So we'll try and get in more details. But as we understand right now, the Health Ministry has issued a precautionary note. Let's go across to my colleague Alisha, who's getting us more details of this. As I understand, Alisha, we're getting in some more breaking news with regards to a note that has been advisory that has been issued by the Health Ministry. What are the details?
Well, yes, Shobhan, it's a Health Ministry advisory which they have issued an advisory, and clearly we can see that there are some of the points that has been pointed out by the Health Ministry, and most of the important point, if you can read out, the operational guidance for revised surveillance strategy in context of COVID-19 issued by Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in June 2022 calls for an early detection, isolation, testing and timely management of suspected and confirmed cases to detect and contain outbreak of new severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 variants. Therefore, monitoring the trend of extending variants is of crucial importance in the view of a sudden spurt of cases being witnessed in Japan, United States of America, Republic of Korea, Brazil and China. It is essential to gear up the whole genome sequencing of a positive case example to track the variant through Indian SARS COVID-2 consortium network. Such an exercise will be enable timely detection of a newly variant in any circulating in the country and will facilitate undertaking of requested public health measure in the same. So it's an all contest, that is a advisory that has been issued by Government of India, Department of Health and Family Welfare, which is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and also mentioned that in this contest all states are requested to ensure that as far as possible samples of positive cases on a daily basis are sent to the designated INSA COG genome sequences laboratory that are mapped to the state and union territories. Also, the fifth point, if I mention about the letter that has been, we have access, is clearly mentioned that Ministry of Health and Family Welfare commends the constant hard work put in all by states, union territories, and will continue to extend required support to all states in this regard. So this is a clear advisory that has been given by Health Ministry over the cases that has been continuously rising in the state, India, and specifically we know there is a case of BF7 in India. There are 3 cases, and also there are samples even from the Maharashtra has been sent for genome sequencing. So now this is advisory that has been given to all the states and union territory. Right. If they found there are more of the cases that has been rising of COVID-19, so that sample has to be sent for the genome sequencing.
Well, in fact, some of the states have already responded to the advisory that was already issued by the Health Ministry. In fact, we're getting in the latest information from the state of Karnataka, where the Health Minister has essentially said that they would be monitoring all movements at the airport. In fact, the Health Minister in Karnataka exuding some confidence, saying that at least 100% of the population in our country have already received both the doses of the vaccination, but he's also urging the rest to take the booster dose. But the fact of the matter is that would that really be enough or not? That's something that the experts will have to weigh in. Let's listen to what Karnataka Health Minister Sudhakar had to say.
According to me, Indians are quite safe because of the effective and successful implementation of the vaccination. When 100% of our population is completely protected with the vaccines, with double doses, I appeal to all of them to take this booster dose at the earliest. We will be monitoring at the airports, and we will try to send all the positive infected cases to the INSACOG for knowing any new, through the genomic sequence. We wanted to know what kind of strains are being witnessed there.
Well, in fact, we'll be keeping a close watch on the steps that have been taken by the other states. Reactions now coming in from Maharashtra as well as in Karnataka. On the other side, news and updates continue.
Powered by ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India Limited. Smarter steels, brighter futures. Tata Capital. Palak Jhapkao, Loan Pao.
Ladies and gentlemen, you expected the puzzle, but for law enforcement, this is not a game.
Explain it to us, detective.
Everyone is in danger.
All right, when's the murder mystery start?
ट्वेंटी 2022 के Q1, Q2 और Q3 में सुबु ने कंसिस्टेंटली अंडर परफॉर्म किया और 3 बार डिमोट होकर भी दिखाया, सीधा कैबिन से क्यूबिकल तक। पर सुबु तो उड़ रहा है, क्योंकि जियो मार्ट के ग्रैंड फिनाले सेल में शॉपिंग पर मिलेगा अप टू 80% ऑफ। तो साल जैसा भी गया हो, एंडिंग तो जबरदस्त होगी।
India welcomes those who further India's pride across the globe. Indian diaspora, partners of New India's growth journey in Amrit Kaal. Come and be a part of the 17th Pravasi Bharati Divas from 8th to 10th January 2023 at Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. For registration, log on to pbdindia.gov.in.
Yeah, Ajay, look at your dad. Will we be the same at his age?
Absolutely yes, if we plan our future like him.
How?
My father had invested in LIC's Jeevan Akshay, which gives immediate and guaranteed annuity at regular intervals, that too for life.
Wow. But do we have to wait until his age?
Absolutely not. We recently invested in LIC's new Jeevan Shanti, which gives deferred annuity, which means regular income after some years.
I see.
LIC's annuity plans give 10 annuity options and flexibility in receiving regular income. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
With Beto's Diabetes Care Program, you get online doctor consultations, all your prescribed medicines and dietitian support on call. Get your complete diabetes management kit and expert advice with Beto's Diabetes Care Program. Give a missed call on 740-1100.
Everyone looks at the world today. At Hyundai, we go beyond with experiences that take us forward. Inspired by our today, we design your tomorrow. Some said electric is the future. We said, why stop there? At Hyundai, we are going beyond mobility, and you are welcome to join us.
Well, after Maharashtra and Karnataka, we are getting the latest updates from Uttar Pradesh, where the Uttar Pradesh government has issued a directive to look into the history of travellers. Authorities have been asked to check foreign passengers in Uttar Pradesh. Deputy Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Brajesh Pathak, spoke to the media a short while back. Listen.
लेकर के जब दुनिया के दूसरे देशों में खासकर चाइना में इस प्रकार की शिकायतें मिली कि वहां कोविड को लेकर हाहाकार मचा हुआ है, तो उत्तर प्रदेश राज्य में सतर्कता बरती जाने के निर्देश हमने जारी किए हैं। विशेष रूप से हवाई अड्डे, रेलवे स्टेशन, बस स्टेशन और भीड़ भाड़ वाले इलाके जैसे सिनेमा हॉल्स हैं, स्कूल हैं, कॉलेज हैं, जहां पर बड़ी संख्या में लोग इकट्ठा होते हैं, वहां पर यदि कोई विदेशी यात्री आता है या विदेश से यात्रा करके भारतीय नागरिक या विदेश का कोई यात्री आता है तो उसकी अवश्य जांच करें और यदि संदिग्ध मरीज कोई हो तो उसकी जांच करके ही उसको भीड़ में जाने दें और कोविड प्रोटोकॉल का पालन करें, सामाजिक दूरी बनाएं, मास्क।
Powered by ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India Limited. Smarter steels, brighter futures. Tata Capital. Palak Jhapkao, Loan Pao.
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
Hey Rahul, what's up?
Hey, kicked about our first date?
Of course.
Benefits up to rupees 30,000 only at the Citroën C3 Carnival. Book today. Reimagineering brighter futures with smarter steels. ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India. Smarter steels, brighter futures.
Volkswagen Tygoon, India's safest SUVW.
Volkswagen.
Magnificent picture, magnificent sound, magnificent experience, magnifique.
High-performance TVs by Aiwa Japan, now in India.
भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था में $1 ट्रिलियन का योगदान और देश की अर्थव्यवस्था में ग्रोथ इंजन के रूप में अपनी भूमिका का निर्वहन करने के हेतु प्रदेश सरकार यूपी ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर्स समिट 2023 का आयोजन कर रही है। आर्थिक विकास में तेज रफ्तार से आगे बढ़ रहे उत्तर प्रदेश में इस समिट के माध्यम से योगी सरकार ने 10 लाख करोड़ रुपए के निवेश का लक्ष्य रखा है।
With Beto's Diabetes Care Program, you get online doctor consultations, all your prescribed medicines and dietitian support on call. Get your complete diabetes management kit and expert advice with Beto's Diabetes Care Program. Give a missed call on 740-1100.
Helps beat sensitivity fast. Sensodyne Rapid Relief.
Good evening, you're watching Live and Breaking at 6:30. I'm Suesha Sawant. We are getting you all the details as India is on alert mode with COVID. Government is reviewing preparedness. That's our focus in this edition. Let's begin with the headlines. India on COVID alert mode, set to issue fresh guidelines for travellers from China, begins random testing and sampling at international airports. Amid surge in COVID cases, in multiple countries, government holds review meet, ramps up preparations to tackle COVID.
पाकिस्तान में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में गए हुए कई लोगों को कोविड पॉजिटिव पाया गया है।
Union Health Minister hits back at Congress outraging over COVID norms, warning says my duty as Health Minister is to warn. Home Minister Amit Shah's stern warning on forced conversions in Parliament, says strict action will be taken.
बीच बीच में महात्मा गांधी जी याद आता है, ये नकली कांग्रेस, नकली गांधी और नकली कांग्रेस को, ये तो अच्छी बात है, दैट्स ए गुड थिंग.
As Sonia Gandhi raises concerns on China incursion, government hits back. Union Minister says Congress should read history first.
कांग्रेस के लोग ही जुडिशरी को अटैक करते हैं और कपिल सिब्बल साहब ने कहा कि इनको सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कोई विश्वास नहीं रह गया है.
Union Law Minister hits back at Sonia Gandhi's allegations on judiciary, says there is no conflict between government and judiciary and Congress is politicizing the issue. And this is the latest coming in as the government is reviewing preparedness on COVID, keeping a very close eye on the BF7 variant in particular. Source-based information coming in on how there is a need for continued surveillance, and the government is keeping track of existing emerging variants. The BF7 variant in particular is a matter of concern. Is the variant responsible for the surge in cases in China? Is highly transmissible. 3 cases of this variant, that is of the Omicron lineage, have been detected in India last week. Let's listen in to what the Niti Aayog has to say on this. Listen in.
Ministerial level review will be undertaken. No panic, abundant precaution. अगर हम उस तरह बढ़ रहे हैं तो abundant precaution के क्या मुद्दे हैं? पहली बात है कि खांसी जुकाम इस मौसम में होता है, हम विंटर में हैं, हम ठंड के मौसम में हैं। तो पहली अपील ये है कि खांसी जुकाम हो रहा है तो आज की सिचुएशन को देखते हुए अपील करना चाहेंगे कि उसमें आप टेस्टिंग करवा लीजिए। हो सकता है और 90% चांस है कि शायद ये नॉन कोविड होगा, लेकिन अगर हमने अर्ली डिटेक्शन करनी है तो तभी करेंगे, कोई टेस्ट करवाएंगे। तो एक अपील भी है और सिस्टम भी इसको प्रोत्साहित करेगा कि टेस्टिंग हो, टेस्टिंग बढ़ेगी तो हमारा फुटप्रिंट ज़्यादा होता है, प्रॉब्लम जो है वो डिटेक्ट होगी, उस वायरस का आइसोलेशन होगा, उस वायरस का जीनोम होगा, तो हमें पूरी ताकत मिलेगी और हमें समझ रहे कि हम किस तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं। दूसरी अबंडन प्रिकॉशन क्या है कि हमें प्रिकॉशन डोज हमारी ड्यू है। लगभग देश में 18 के ऊपर प्रिकॉशन डोज सबको लगनी चाहिए, लेकिन लगी है सिर्फ 27-28%। तो देश में 18 के ऊपर प्रिकॉशन डोज सबको लगनी चाहिए, लेकिन लगी है सिर्फ 27-28%। तो हम अपील करेंगे कि प्रिकॉशन डोज जिसको नहीं लगी है वो ले लीजिए। ये भारत की पेंडेमिक रिस्पांस का एक पिलर है, पॉलिसी है, वैक्सीन अवेलेबल हैं, तो उसको तरफ जाइए। और पर्टिकुलरली जो हमारे सिटीजन्स, सीनियर सिटीजन्स हैं, वो कोई छूट गए हैं प्रिकॉशन डोज से, तो हमेशा की तरह जैसे हम पहले भी अपील करते थे कि उनका हमें ज़्यादा ख्याल करना है। सीनियर सिटीजन्स क्योंकि वल्नरेबल हैं और बीमारी वाले व्यक्ति वल्नरेबल ज़्यादा होते हैं, तो ये खासकर उनके लिए अपील है कि अगर आपको प्रिकॉशन डोज नहीं लगी तो लीजिए, लेकिन सभी को प्रिकॉशन डोज जो है वो मैंडेटेड है, गाइडेड है और उसको आप लीजिए। अगला पॉइंट ये आता है कि हमें इसके अलावा भी जनरल प्रिकॉशंस लेनी है जो
And joining us on the broadcast is Dr. Ankita Baidia, Senior Consultant Infectious Diseases. She's joining us live from Delhi. Very good evening, Doctor. I want to talk to you about the BF7 variant because that particularly is a concern at this point, given the 3 cases that have been detected in India in the past week. That is also the variant that is responsible for the spike in cases in China and how it has worsened to this level. You think India should now take a call on banning all flights from China altogether?
So yes, since it's now again it is a variant of concern. We are seeing surge of cases in China, in US, in Japan, in Korea. So we need to tighten our guards now. Again, last few months we had seen that the things has gone back to normal. But yes, the COVID is not letting us forget it. We need to understand it's a new variant. It is escaping the immunity. It is easily transmissible even to those who already had COVID. So just thinking you had past history of COVID and not getting yourself vaccinated is challenge to our country. Go for a precautionary dose. Just like as the Ministry of Health is recommending, go for your precautionary dose, the booster dose that was announced early this year from January itself, 2022, January 2022, the precautionary dose was announced and it was recommended to be taken especially for people who are at high risk, people who are frontline, and now to everybody. So please go and take your precautionary dose. This variant, I'll say BF7, again has certain mutation in it which actually evade the immunity. So what we understand by this that it is easily transmissible, it is very highly infectious. If it is evading your existing immunity, that means if somebody had recovered from COVID infection, he or she might not is again susceptible to this variant. So looking at both these parameters, and if we see the vaccination rate right now with the booster in our country, I am actually scared. So we need to prepare in all aspects regarding COVID infection, that this time we don't see what we had seen in the second wave. As other countries, we are also facing, developed country like Japan and US, they are struggling to curtail the COVID. And another question that restricting the flight from China, the government has to take a call, but at least we can start screening at airport properly and strictly. People have to look in all aspects. If somebody is traveling from, even if we are not restricting at this point, if somebody is traveling from these affected countries, they have to be screened for if they are having any symptoms. also in India, we need to screen this variant. So genetic testing to know where we stand is very important for this virus. So if we just, as last week only you have highlighted, we had 3 cases. So this has reached India, it can spread in our country. Though we have different level of immunity in Indian setting, we had seen different phases. It's not always similar what we see in the West, in US,
Right.
but yes, if we see what is going throughout the world and we are better prepared, we can if there are chances that this COVID will cause less damage. But if we are not prepared, then I am scared. Actually, I am scared looking at the vaccination rate, the precautionary dose. It's so less. People have taken it lightly. They have forgotten about COVID. I see in the markets, people are
Yes.
roaming here and there without masks. Social gatherings are happening.
Yes.
We know we need to go back to normal, but we need to understand if something alarming is there happening throughout the world, it is better to take precautions rather than be sorry later on. And when the situation goes out of control, when we
Absolutely agree with you.
when
There
we
is
land up in a
sense of
situation when we
complacency
don't have
that is
facility,
prevailing
enough
amongst
health
the
facility.
people. And you're very right on that, Dr. Vaidya. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you here. Please stay on with us because several other aspects that I want to talk to you about, but more reactions that are coming in this time from the Karnataka Health Minister. We'll try and play out that response. But he is certainly urging people to take the booster dose, like you mentioned. Karnataka Health Minister saying that they are monitoring the situation at the airport very, very closely. And all positive cases will be tested for the strains that they have had. Let's listen in.
According to me, Indians are quite safe because of the effective and successful implementation of the vaccination. When 100% of our population is completely protected with the vaccines, with double doses, I appeal to all of them to take this booster dose at the earliest. We will be monitoring at the airports and we will try to send all the positive infected cases to the INSACOG for knowing any new, through the genomic sequence, we wanted to know what kind of strains are being witnessed there.
Dr. Vaidya, I want to come back to you because while international passengers are being very closely monitored, you were talking about the vaccination rate. And I believe that still is a higher percentage in comparison to the booster doses which have not been taken in that number. Would you recommend that that must be taken very seriously at this point? Also, there should be a bigger campaign to make people more aware of its importance?
Yes, very definitely. So if I see the rate of booster dose, when the people come to us and we ask whether the booster dose has been taken or not, so they tell very lightly that, doctor, we have not taken the booster dose, we have completed the 2 doses and the vaccination certificate is complete. So we need to understand now this has to be made mandatory by the administration, as we had seen in recent past. When we have to have a vaccination certificate for international travel, for travel in India also, for certain recommendations were there and limitation of activity if you don't have a vaccination certificate. The precautionary dose has also to be introduced in that. This is important to understand. Also, as it's a virus which mutates very fast. So as we are seeing, new variants are coming here and there, and it is mutating so fast. So existing immunity, if I talk about last year, whatever immunity was there because of the vaccination or the natural immunity, and we had seen the third wave has in the January 2022 itself, didn't cause much trouble to all of us. And in between the spikes. But this time, since the gap has been more than a year that the people got vaccinated for the 2 doses and missing booster doses, I feel we have to be alert now when a new strain is coming, and globally, developed country, including China, Japan, US, is facing crisis related to COVID. Yes, we have to pull up our socks and work to alarm everybody that if you have not taken your booster dose, please go and get it as early as possible.
Absolutely. Dr.
Yes.
Vaidya, in fact, Dr. Raju Vyas is also joining us on the broadcast. He's the director of Fortis Hospital in Delhi. Thank you
for speaking to us this evening. Yes, it is the vaccination and the booster dose that holds primary importance at this point. But let's also understand, Dr. Vyas, that we've been through COVID once. We've been through a national lockdown once. We understand COVID a lot more than what we did 2 years ago. And since we are better prepared, should there be more aggressive genome sequencing, especially with the BF7 variant?
Yeah, I agree with you. But the thing is that first and foremost thing is that first the international, all the 5 countries from where the chances of infected patients coming to India, they should be a little bit taken seriously. Their surveillance should be started immediately. All the people coming from US, China, Brazil, Japan, they should be screened actually. Screened, and if at all required, then they should be sent into quarantine for time being. Everybody should be allowed to start wearing mask now once again. We have seen many of us, most of the people in the country, they have stopped using the mask. I think that is the second major line of defense for us. And thirdly, the vaccination part, which has fallen apart, I think probably the second dose, if I go through the data, I think probably it is 92 crores people have taken the second dose. There should be encouraged that the second dose should be given to them as early as possible. And apart from that, the people who has taken the booster dose, I think the data also shows that 25 crore of people have taken the booster dose. They also be told about what is the significance of taking the booster dose. As somebody rightly said, that the booster dose is important in preventing the Omicron, as you might have seen in China and all majority of these countries. It is one of the variant of the Omicron which is giving nightmare to these countries. And if we have to salvage our country and our people, then we have to encourage the people to go for a vaccination drive and start following the COVID protocols once again. So as simple as that. And we have learned many things since last 2 big waves, wave 1 and wave 2 of COVID. I think every Indian citizen are supposed to take care of themselves, not only himself, but his family also. On 3 grounds. One thing, start wearing the mask, not going into the many crowded area now. And thirdly, start taking the vaccination. This is as simple as that. And if we keep on doing all those things, I think we can prevent our country for another major disaster, I think probably, from COVID now.
Absolutely. Your point has been noted, sir. I request both our guests, Dr. Vaidya and Dr. Vyas, to stay on with us on the broadcast. We have to slip into a very short commercial break, but our non-stop focus on all these updates coming in as the centre is reviewing COVID preparedness.
Amrita School of Business. Admissions open.
माई भाई सोच रहा हूँ कमेंट्री ट्राई करूँ. सुनोगे? मैच का आखिरी बॉल कैप्टन ने टाइट फील्ड सेटिंग करी. बॉलर का रन अप, तेज तूफानी डिलीवरी, बराबर साइड की ओर एक धमाकेदार शॉट और ये गया छक्का.
छक्का नहीं, टूटा. आपके टाइल्स को चाहिए MY के लेटिक्री टाइल एडेसिव. फॉर्मूला ऐसा कि अब टाइल न टूटेगा न छूटेगा.
Hey Rahul, what's up?
Hey, kicked about our first date?
Of course.
Benefits up to rupees 30,000 only at the Citroën C3 Carnival. Book today.
With Beto's Diabetes Care program, you get online doctor consultations, all your prescribed medicines and dietitian support on call. Get your complete diabetes management kit and expert advice with Beto's Diabetes Care program. Give a missed call on 740-1100.
বাহ, বাইরে সিকিউরিটি আর নিজের বাড়িতে এইসব.
दादा बचा लिया आपने.
बेफिक्र कोलकाता जाओ, इंटरव्यू अच्छा ही होगा.
हर बंद राह ओपन हो सकती है. लगता है सिर्फ दिल. एक्सिस बैंक, दिल से ओपन.
क्या हुआ रोहन, क्या सोच रहा है?
रिया पहली सैलरी मिली है, तुम भी कुछ आइडिया दो. एक्सपेंसेस को कैसे प्लान किया जाए?
रोहन, एक्सपेंसेस के साथ साथ इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान करना भी जरूरी है.
देखो, सैलरी का कुछ हिस्सा घर के रेगुलर खर्चे के लिए और कुछ मैं अपने लिए भी तो सोच सकता हूँ ना, लेकिन इन्वेस्ट कहाँ करूँ?
सिंपल है, एनपीएस में।
एनपीएस में? भैया अभी तो मैंने कमाना शुरू किया है, इतना आगे के लिए अभी से क्यों पैसे जोड़ूं?
वो देखो, एक एक करके ईंट जोड़ी जाती है, तब जाके एक घर तैयार होता है। वैसे ही अभी से पैसे जोड़कर हम भी अपना रिटायरमेंट सुखी बना सकते हैं।
बात में तो दम है।
एनपीएस कम लागत वाली फ्लेक्सिबल लॉन्ग टर्म योजना है, जिससे आपकी बचत ग्रो होकर पेंशन का लाभ देती है।
अच्छा, फिर तो मैं अभी अपना एनपीएस अकाउंट ओपन करता हूँ।
जो कल की सोचते हैं वो आज से ही थोड़ा थोड़ा जोड़ते हैं।
पेंशन है तो टेंशन नहीं। एनपीएस में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है।
Guys, just 1 second. Choosing a car for my mom.
What? Online car shopping? Wow, that's so cool, yeah.
शाहरुख ने बताया.
Wait up. Booking a car service.
From here.
क्यों? तुझे शाहरुख ने नहीं बताया?
इसने पूछा ही नहीं. There's so much more जो शाहरुख ने नहीं बताया. It's all on the industry first My Hyundai app. Open a world of possibility with My Hyundai app. One app, many worlds.
And cutting across to more breaking news coming in of 2 patients who were infected with BF7 and BF12 variants of Omicron that were reported in July, October, November 2022. These are details coming in from the Gujarat government on the BF7 cases. The patients were treated in home isolation. They have fully recovered. Let's listen in.
जो अभी जिस तरह से चाइना में केसेस बढ़े उसका कारण ये है कि चाइना की नेचुरल हर्ड इम्यूनिटी जो डेवलप होनी चाहिए थी वो नहीं हुई है उनकी पॉलिसी की वजह से। उन्होंने पॉलिसी ज़ीरो कोविड पॉलिसी अपना के रखी थी और लोगों को तुरंत ही वो लॉकडाउन में रखते थे, इसलिए उनकी नेचुरल हर्ड इम्यूनिटी नहीं बनी है। अभी तक जो पता चला है उसमें ऐसा कोई म्यूटेंट वायरस नहीं देखा गया है जिससे हमें खतरा हो, लेकिन हमें सावधानी बरतनी पड़ेगी। हमें एक ख्याल रखना पड़ेगा कि किस तरह का।
Dr. Beda, if I can come to you on this, because no doctor till date speaks with utmost surety when it comes to COVID, and specifics still can't be zeroed upon. Talking about the BF7 variant, as the Gujarat government reports that those who had this variant were infected by it have fully recovered. But we also understand it's highly transmissible and one of the reasons of why the situation in China has worsened. What more do we know of this variant?
So one thing, it's again a subvariant of Omicron variant of COVID. So we know about Omicron variant. Usually what we had seen this year, majority of cases in a normal adult healthy individual, it will not cause a very significant lung damage. But yes, if somebody is immunocompromised, elderly people, there are chances of hospitalization. So this is what we have observed in this 2022 when we have a predominant variant, Omicron variant. Now this is again a sublineage of that, a subvariant of that Omicron variant. It's a BF7 variant, which is we are seeing in China. So rightly said in your channel also by somebody in Gujarat that China, because of its policy of restricting, going to complete lockdown, as soon as they see the surge of COVID virus, the natural herd immunity is lacking. So we have a different population right now in our country. But yes, if just going by the natural herd immunity and not going for a vaccination, this will not be correct. So go for a precautionary dose. Understanding this variant, if it evades your natural immunity because a lot number of mutation in the outer membrane protein, which is actually required, which is the first point of contact and required for virus getting into the cell, infecting the cell, multiplying inside, and then causing the disease and severity of disease. So if you're vaccinated, it is very much possible that the disease is not going into a severe form or hospitalization is not required. Priority is always the group who should be more careful, who are elderly, who have some sort of immune deficiency, taking steroids, in diabetic, hypertensive, people with cardiac diseases, or another illness which decreases your immunity, be careful and take all sort of whatever precautions we have learned throughout last 2 years, how we can stay safe with COVID. Take all precautions. So it is the precaution and the vaccination that can help us.
But Dr.
Apart from this genetic testing,
the center is certainly reviewing preparedness in every which way, also putting the onus on states now, and which is why we are now getting increased statements from various state health ministries on how they are now bracing for the COVID situation. This is the latest update coming in from Maharashtra. Let's put that out for our viewers of how a task force will be formed. We'll put out those details. For the moment, I want to thank you both for joining us on the broadcast. Details after this break on what various states are doing to tackle the BF7 variant. More on this on the other side.
Amrita School of Business. Admissions open.
Mr. Blanc, you're the world's greatest detective, right?
In your words, there has been a murder. The killer wouldn't hesitate to kill again if it covers their tracks.
Wow!
Well, I'm out of here.
Yeah, me too.
Lock the doors. Stay in your rooms. Everyone is in danger.
Are you calling me dangerous?
Well, we'll see.
India welcomes those who further India's pride across the globe. Indian diaspora, partners of New India's growth journey in Amritkal. Come and be a part of the 17th Pravasi Bharati Divas from 8th to 10th January 2023 at Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. For registration, log on to pbdindia.gov.in.
Reimagineering brighter futures with smarter steels. ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India. Smarter steels, brighter futures.
टाइम पे खा लेना और कल सुबह अपॉइंटमेंट है, भूलना मत।
अरे 2 दिन के लिए तो जा रहे हो।
हाँ, लेकिन ख्याल तो पूरी जिंदगी रखूंगा ना।
HDFC लाइफ एन्युटी प्लान्स के जॉइंट लाइफ फ्यूचर के साथ रखिए अपनों का ख्याल हमेशा। HDFC लाइफ, सर उठा के जियो।
Hey, boss. Rahul, how come you're here?
Boss, शाहरुख ने बताया.
Charging station for my electric car. Ah, found it. Really? How? शाहरुख ने बताया.
There's so much more जो शाहरुख ने नहीं बताया. It's all on the industry first My Hyundai app. Open a world of possibility with My Hyundai app. One app, many worlds.
Here, gravity and physics don't call the shots, and sound travels slower than you. This is a different kind of place. That's why we're looking for different kind of people, for whom excellence is not a job, but a way of being, be it in the sky or on the ground. We're looking for an invincible team of invincible people, people who are a cut above.
Join the Indian Air Force to be a cut above.
Should India be concerned as China faces a COVID surge? Should India do more? For example, should we stop all incoming flights from China? Is there a concern on the new variant BF7? 3 cases of which have been detected in India. What will we now have to do as a country to ensure there is no 4th wave? That's our biggest story tonight at 7 p.m.
Is Congress back to 2020 negativism? Health Ministry raises alarm on Bharat Jodo Yatra. Why make COVID directives a political issue? Ornav debates at 9 p.m. Amit Shah calls out funds for conversions.
विदेश से आए हुए धन के स्रोत राज्य की निगरानी में नहीं हो, ऐसा नहीं चलेगा। नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार है, देश के अंदर एक कानी पाई भी हम नहीं आने देंगे।
Big debate on NGO funding to change demography. Debating tonight at 10 p.m.
A former union minister tying the laces of Rahul Gandhi.
25 kilogram of heroin has been recovered by the BSF. The Kashmiri Pandits here in Jammu are staging protest against Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha.
Should India be concerned as China faces a COVID surge? Should India do more? For example, should we stop all incoming flights from China? Is there a concern on the new variant BF7? 3 cases of which have been detected in India. What will we now have to do as a country to ensure there is no 4th wave? That's our biggest story tonight at 7 p.m. China COVID chaos sends India into a big huddle. India detects 4 cases of the deadly BF.7 variant. India to issue new guidelines against Chinese passengers incoming. States issue directives for more sampling and testing. India ramps up its measures on genome sequencing. Getting in some breaking news now that serial killer Charles Sobhraj will be released. The French serial killer will be released from a Nepal jail according to reports coming in right now. And we're getting in some details before we go across to that big news break on COVID and our special broadcast. Getting in breaking news now that Charles Sobhraj, who's been in a Nepal jail since 2003 on charges of murder, has ordered to be released after 19 years in jail. After 19 years, the Supreme Court in Nepal allowing Charles Sobhraj to be released. The French serial killer has already served 19 years in jail. And Charles Sobhraj, he's been in a Nepal jail since 2003. Charges that he's been facing include murdering American tourists. And these are the breaking news updates we're getting in. In fact, Charles Sobhraj, a Frenchman, he's a French national of Indian and Vietnamese parentage. And he was charged with using a fake passport to enter Nepal and killing 2 backpackers in 1975. Let me go across to Abhishek Kapoor. Abhishek Kapoor live from the Delhi newsroom. Abhishek, what more do we know about the case and the order now by the Nepal Supreme Court? Abhishek. Just going across to Abhishek in just a second, but getting in this big breaking news update from Nepal that Charles Sobhraj will be released after the Supreme Court of Nepal intervened. In fact, Charles Sobhraj has been in a Nepal jail since 2003. Charges that he faces include murder of 2 American tourists. And the Nepal Supreme Court has now ordered the release of the French serial killer. He spent 19 years in jail, and the jail sentence that he served was on account of his age. He's been in jail since 2003 on charges of murdering 2 American tourists. And Abhishek is joining me live right now. Let me go across to Abhishek. Abhishek, do we have details of the order order or what the court said while allowing him to be released. Abhishek.
Well, the preliminary information that we are getting, Niranjan, is that he has been released on grounds of old age. He is 78 years old, and that he was essentially serving a jail term of 21 years, of which, if you look at the fact that he started his jail term sometime in 2003, it's already 19 years. So effectively, only 2 years getting remitted from his term. That's what we are gathering. Of course, he will have to leave Nepal within 15 days after his release, and he was serving jail term for killing of two individuals. One, a US citizen identified as Connie Joe Boronozic, 29 years old at that time in 1975, and Boronozic's girlfriend, Canadian citizen Lauren Carrier, 26 years old. They were, remember, killed in 1975 by Charles Sobhraj, who, as you rightly mentioned, is of Indian and Vietnamese and French descent. His full name is Charles Gurumukh Sobhraj Hothchand Bhavnani. And he was, in fact, accused of killing other people as well, almost a serial killer, Niranjan. And at last count, I believe he was accused of killing more than a dozen odd people, but now, of course, a Nepal court releasing him, asking him to leave Nepal within 15 days.
Thank you for that, Abhishek. Tracking that story very closely here on Republic TV. Let's move on to the top focus tonight. The biggest story is of the 3 cases of the Omicron subvariant BF7. Abhishek, thank you for joining us. I'm going across to that story. India met today. The Union Health Minister met in the national capital on India's preparedness and where we stand vis-a-vis the battle against COVID-19 as China sees a surge. In fact, 4 cases have been reported of the Omicron subvariant BF.7. Apparently, the strain, according to reports, which is driving China's current surge of COVID cases, which have been detected in India so far. The first case of BF7, as per reports in India, was detected in October by Gujarat Biotechnology Research Centre. So far, 2 cases have been reported from Gujarat, while 1 has been reported from Odisha. And I'm being joined on the biggest story tonight this evening by Dr. Randeep Guleria, a former AIIMS director. Thank you, Dr. Guleria, for joining us on the broadcast. First of all, your assessment of what has been happening today. You've been a part of AIIMS for many years, and you've been a part of the task force. You know exactly the situation that we're dealing with or will have to deal with. Your view on where we stand today, Dr. Guleria.
So I think we need to be vigilant. We need to really do testing and genome sequencing, but there's no need for panic because of the simple reason that the situation in India is very different from what we are seeing in China. And that's for 3-4 reasons. One, of course, is that China adopted a zero COVID policy. That was useful in the beginning, but now it's creating a problem because you have a large part of the population, especially the older age group and those with comorbidities, that have not been exposed to the virus and have not been vaccinated. So they are as if you were in early 2020, where you had population which were not vaccinated and not been exposed to the virus, and therefore your immune system was not geared up to fight the infection. Secondly, we don't know about the efficacy of the vaccine and how it works against the new variants. And there is some feeling that it may not be that effective, and therefore the vaccine efficacy is less. And because of that, once the zero COVID policy was lifted, the virus was able to spread quickly. And we know that the new variant BA.7 has 2 things with it. One is that it has more chance of spreading. It is more infectious. And we also know that it has the ability to develop immune escape. That means if you had some immunity in the past, it will escape that immune system mechanism and cause infection. And because of that, the chances of infection are high. In India, because we have good amount of immunity, we may still get the infection because of the immune escape mechanism, but we will get a milder infection, and we are seeing that with the B.7. We're not seeing severe infection, increase in hospitalization or increase in death, unlike China, where the population has not got good amount of basic immunity, and therefore they're seeing more hospitalization and deaths.
Dr. Guleria, you spoke about what China is dealing with. So we'll get into that a little bit in detail, just as a case study on what China has done. The aggressive approach with the zero COVID policy, we saw the protests that broke out, and then they had to sort of buckle, and they went to this restriction to removing restrictions. So obviously from zero tolerance to sort of taking it, removing all the restrictions. It appears that somewhere in between they weren't really prepared for the situation, given the hospitalizations and the infrastructure. What did China get wrong here?
So I think China, the two things that China got wrong was, one was to keep on insisting on a zero tolerance policy, where they had tried to get cases to be zero. This was not going to be possible when you have an infection which can be asymptomatic and which can be mild. And therefore, it was not going to be possible for them to control it. And this was causing a lot of economic problem. There was a lot of problems in the citizens who were having to stay locked down for a very long period of time, even when the infection was mild. At the same time, it caused a large part of the population to be vulnerable because they had never been exposed to the virus. And therefore, now with the new variant, once the zero COVID policy got lifted, they were going to get a serious infection, and China did not prepare for that. They did not expect that they would see such a surge in number of cases, and therefore, from the point of view of doing it in a gradual manner, rather than doing it abruptly, is causing a huge surge in the number of cases. But having said that, we must be very vigilant, because we know that when there's a surge in the number of cases, the chances of new variants emerging becomes much more, because as the virus multiplies much more, the chances of the virus mutating and becoming a new variant developing is higher. Therefore, we need to be vigilant. We need to really monitor very closely, have good surveillance in our country, especially in terms of sentinel surveillance from hospitals, to see that there is no increase in hospital admissions. And those individuals who have fever, cough, sore throat, COVID-like symptoms should come forward and get themselves tested, because then only would we know how much is the number of cases, and we could be able to do genome sequences to pick up any new variant which may be emerging in our country.
Yeah. On that point, can I ask you, do you think there's enough testing being done? Point number one, do you think there's enough testing being done? Point number two, there are questions over whether we should be more vigilant at airports, given our experience in 2019 and 2020. What's your take on that?
So I think we should encourage more testing. We have stopped doing testing as aggressively as we were doing in the past. And that's because people are not coming forward. Everyone who gets fever, cough and cold, they do two things. Either they don't get themselves tested, take paracetamol and take symptomatic treatment and usually become all right with that and therefore don't bother. Or they do a rapid antigen test at home, and if they have COVID, they don't inform anyone and they would just isolate themselves. And really, that is no way that, from that point of view, you don't know the number of cases. And with the rapid antigen test, you don't have a sample to do genome sequencing. So you should come forward and get the RT-PCR testing done. Regarding the air travel, I think we were in a different situation as far as 2020 was concerned and now, because at that point in time, the virus, there was really very few cases in our country, and we did not have any COVID in India, or we had very few cases. Now it's become a situation which is there globally, and it's going to be difficult to control it just by stopping travel or doing aggressive testing at the airport, because people transit from different places and you don't know who's come from which place, because you have a hub in the Middle East, you have hubs in Europe, and therefore I think that will not be practical. But I would really encourage individuals who have traveled and have flu-like symptoms or who have features suggestive of COVID to come forward and get themselves tested, so that they know that they have COVID, and this sample can be tested from the genome sequencing point of view, which will allow the country to know whether there is a new variant emerging from people who have traveled from outside.
Yeah. But what is it about BF7 that Chinese vaccines have so far failed to tackle? You spoke about the vaccines perhaps being ineffective. That's what most experts are also saying about the Chinese vaccines. Vis-a-vis Indian vaccines, where do we stand regarding this variant? And what's your assessment on that?
So current data that we have is from the Indian vaccine suggests that the Indian vaccines are effective against Omicron and its sublineages. and the BF.7 is the sublineage of the Omicron variant. And we know that this variant can cause more infection. It can also cause infection in those who have had past infection. But because of the vaccination and the natural infection that we've had, it is not causing severe infection, hospitalization, or deaths. In China, we don't know about the efficacy of the local vaccine, the vaccine which are made in China. The data is not there, and its efficacy against the new variants, which have emerged as Omicron and its sub-lineages, is actually not there. And like I said, this combined with the fact that a large number of population has not been exposed to the virus and has not been vaccinated makes it a situation which is causing problems in that country.
Try and club that my two questions into one, and I have those questions on the wall, so I'll put the questions up. I've already asked you two of those questions, but I'm going to repeat those questions. If I can pull up these questions on the wall right now, and I'm going to repeat that. Question number one was, should India take a call on stopping all incoming flights from China? You've already responded to that. My second question was, okay, let me take that question. Second one was, should there be a more aggressive testing and genome sequencing? I think you've responded to that already. Let's put up the questions right now, one after the other. Should India take a call on stopping all incoming flights from China? Dr. Guleria has already responded to that. Let's look at the next question. The next question is, should there be a blanket ban on political rallies and marches? So keep this question, keep your answer on this question ready, Dr. Guleria. I'll ask you another follow-up. Should there be a blanket ban on political rallies and marches? And secondly, should there be a bigger campaign to encourage precaution doses? Because we just pulled up some data that suggests that it's less than 30%, Dr. Guleria. So point number one on political rallies and marches. Secondly, on the precaution dose, or what is otherwise called the booster dose. Dr. Guleria.
When marches are concerned, what I would say is that we would tell people who are at high risk, those with comorbidities and the elderly, to avoid such marches and such crowded places. One positive thing is that most of these rallies and marches are in the outdoor environment where chances of spread is less. It's more if it's a closed indoor environment. Secondly, I would encourage that everyone who really goes for these rallies or functions or marches should wear a mask. At least that will give some protection. But we are in a better situation, and therefore I think there is no need to panic right now. Regarding the question about the precautionary dose, I think it's very important. Now a large number of people who are eligible for the precautionary dose are not coming forward because they feel COVID is over and we don't need to now get ourselves vaccinated because the story is over. I would just like to re-emphasize that story is not over. The virus is still here. It is evolving, and prevention is better than cure. Therefore, you should get yourself vaccinated. Even if you get a mild illness and you are not vaccinated, there is a higher chance that you may have long COVID and which may cause more problems. Therefore, to protect yourself, both from severe COVID and from long COVID, I would really suggest that people should come forward and take the precautionary dose for those for whom it is due.
Dr. Guleria, appreciate you joining us on Republic TV this evening and taking all those questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you, doctor. Thank you for your time. And while I thank Dr. Randeep Guleria, let me also tell you that Dr. Rai, the past Secretary General of IMA, is joining us on the show. But before that, let's show you some graphics. A lot of people are asking questions this evening about what the BF7 variant is. If I can pull up that graphic quickly. The BF7 variant, 4 cases of which have been detected in India, reported in India since October. These are not recent cases. The Gujarat government has also come on record and said these are not new cases. These are cases that were detected in October, and treatment was given. The patients were isolated. One of the patients had traveled from overseas. Now, let's tell you a little about the deadly BF7 variant. There were 4 cases. It's not 3, 4 cases of Omicron subvariant BF7 in India so far. The BF7, this is the variant that is driving China's sudden COVID surge. It's a highly transmissible Omicron strain. It's a sublineage of Omicron variant BA5 and has the strongest infection ability. Highly transmissible, it has a shorter incubation period, has a higher capacity to cause reinfection. And reports suggesting, an expert saying that BF7 can infect even those who are vaccinated, like what is happening in China. Some of the estimates saying that millions of people may already be infected or may get infected in the coming days. So that's the situation. Let's go across to Dr. Rai. Dr. Rai, good evening. Can you hear me, Dr. Rai? Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So quickly, if I can get your view on we've been discussing vaccines. The Chinese vaccine, it appears, was a dud, and the same Chinese vaccine was given a big thumbs up by the WHO, which still playing ball with Covaxin. What do you make of what's going on in China?
It's a well-known fact that China is the person those who are just cheating the whole of the world. Last when the corona started from the Wuhan, they were the person who hide every information from the globe, and they never declared that they are having this sort of problem, and the whole world should be cautious about this one. And as far as the vaccines are concerned, it was in the news also. The China vaccine has failed miserably. Whatever vaccine they have given, it is not affecting at all. And still today also, when he's having a lot of problems there, he's not sharing his agony with any country in the world. At least as far as WHO is concerned, I think WHO chief is the godfather of the China's person. So he's also supporting that way. I don't mind in saying all these things. Because last time also, he was saying that nothing is there, and today again the problem has come up. Now, as far as our country is concerned, we are thankful to our Prime Minister and to the doctors community. We are proud of our doctor community that we have vaccinated more than 220 crores vaccination has been given, and majority has taken the booster dose also. And from your side, on your channel, through your channel, I will request to all the person who have not taken the booster dose, kindly go and take the booster dose, because that is the only thing which is going to save us. One thing. Second thing, we have to observe appropriate protocol of the COVID. Then only we will be safe. And the country and the government will have to take action as far as the flights coming from China, Japan, Australia and other countries where this infection has gone. They should screen the person fully. They should test them. Then only they should be allowed. Rather, even if the question comes of cancelling the flights, they should not hesitate, because last 2 years were horrible for our country, and we don't want to have such type of position in the future also. This is my suggestion in that way. To the government also, and particularly government should take initiative of vaccinating the younger children, because our children are not vaccinated. So we have to protect them also. If they are infected, they will take the infection to the house. Isolation with the children is impossible. So that is the thing which we are concerned about.
Thank you, Dr. Rai, for joining us on the biggest story tonight here on Republic. Thank you very much. I think you put it very well in a nutshell. Also, just getting in some news that Chinese travelers have been put under watch. The breaking news update that I have, let me pull up the graphics as well. The government will release fresh guidelines soon for travelers, especially guidelines for travelers coming to India from China. And the focus is on these Chinese travelers, as the country is seeing a huge surge in COVID cases. Nobody has an idea or the exact number of how many cases have been reported in China. And China, in fact, has not put out those numbers. It's not recording the number of cases being reported anymore as per the details from the Chinese media itself. So nobody knows approximately how many cases have been recorded in China. It could be in the millions. But let's look at what China got wrong. Some of the learnings as China fails once again. What did China do? China tried an aggressive approach and it failed. The China zero COVID policy faced protests, and there was a complete non-scientific approach. After that, they relaxed restrictions. They were testing. They relaxed the restrictions and also the testing post the protests, and China was not prepared. Hospitals, medical infrastructure was not prepared. So some of the learnings perhaps from there for India as well. And now some questions on whether people are asking whether India is prepared, and there are questions being asked primarily because we are meeting today and whether we can do more at this point. Let's look at some of those concerns and points. Concern number one, masks are still not mandatory. They're not mandatory anymore, of course, across the country. The second concern being that random testing has begun today at airports especially. The third concern is that just 27 to 28% of Indians who are eligible for the precaution dose have taken the dose. So it's only about one-fourth coverage for the precaution dose, which is a concern. The fourth biggest concern is that cases detected in political rallies, like in the case of Bharat Jodo Yatra, many cases being reported, including the Himachal Chief Minister, who went to the Bharat Jodo Yatra has tested positive. Concern number 5, all flights from China not stopped yet. Guidelines will be issued. We'll leave it at that. It's also a top focus through the day here on Republic TV, taking a short break.
Is Congress back to 2020 negativism? Health Ministry raises alarm on Bharat Jodo Yatra. Why make COVID directives a political issue? Ornav debates at 9 p.m.
Driven by Hyundai Service,